Anti-derivative Jill.
There she is. There she is.
Hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch in Infinite Combinations. What number is this? Oh, I forget.
59.
59? No,
Yep.
That's not right. Is that right?
89.
I forgot what
I need
number
my
it is.
better glasses.
69?
I think it's 90, isn't it?
Let's
It's
see.
11 Quatlus.
It's
100%
91.
quadrules.
91.
91. There we
Or is
go.
it 90? No, it's 90.
2,000 quadrules.
Okay, I was
Anyway.
right.
Anyway, I forgot to put that in my notes. So I'm continuing a very special journey through all of the episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series. We're on season 3, and we're watching in production order. So that means that we finally reached Day of the Dove. It's the 11th episode of season 3. It first aired on November 1st. Excuse me, 1968. And
Day after
I
day
think
after
it's
Halloween. Day after Halloween. That's magnificent for this episode. It really is.
It is a haunted.
yeah, yeah, and it's a meaningful episode, and definitely I don't know if it's a haunted house, but it's definitely not pleasant.
Yes.
It
And so
aired
this
on.
is a huge Klingon episode, so it's a lot of fun. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it aired on All Saints Day.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
After
favorite band.
Samhain, Stone Racket. After Samhain, most often mispronounced Sam Hain. So yes. Very well said, Stone Racket.
Yeah, and it magnifies some Star Trek ideals that we first saw in episodes like A Taste of Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
And so it even has Captain's Log. Star
Oh,
date, Armageddon. But
love that.
I want to welcome my panel who wants to talk about this episode today. We have Scotty R37 today.
Ahoy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm really
And-
well. Shake the magic hate ball.
Yeah, Magic Cake Ball. It's gonna bring us together somehow.
It will. We'll laugh at it and enjoy it together.
I'm not laughing. I
Racket
love
is
this
here.
episode.
Hey, Stone Racket. How are
I
you?
love all Star Trek.
Doing just great. Looking forward to the
Wonderful.
discussion on this classic episode, which is one of my top 10 third season episode favorites.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, right. You sent me a whole list of all your rankings of everything. That's great. Sub Commander Tall, great to see you today.
Hi, great to be here. I'm looking forward to talking about this episode.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, and back again is Hungry. I always love whenever he stops by.
Thank
It's the
you.
middle
too.
of the night for him. So
Well,
he can't, otherwise he'd be here more often.
It's now 5 a.m. where I am, and I have been up since 1 a.m. refining my notes for this episode because I do love it so much.
Hungry is upside down.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and also we have Jim from Jim's Landscape LLC,
Hey, Jim.
Commodore Productions.
Captain
So,
Boone
how are
here
you?
from Commodore Productions. How's everybody doing today?
Oh, you changed your name. Did you
That's
really?
why I didn't get it. Oh, you're Jim's Landscape.
I'm a
Okay,
captain.
I know you. I
Captain.
know you.
He's a
Yeah.
captain.
That's one
Captain
hell of a good
Boone.
beard. That is a great beard.
Thank you.
I
It
can't
takes
grow
more
one.
control.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So yeah, you were also the first one in my chat that I can see. Also, Franco Walker helped me. Remember, I didn't put up the poll, so the poll is there. Thanks to Franco, who also gave us our first vote And Snortapoop is Cuber. I wonder if he's still here. That's great. Great to
Oh.
see him in the chat.
He'll be
Hello.
back. He'll be back.
Hello.
Oh yeah, he does. He says hello.
Hey, Citrus. Hey, good to see you, man.
Hey, Pops,
Just
what's
one.
up there?
Yeah, some people also
Citrus.
call lemon pie scurvy.
Elvin.
And hello,
Been
Mark
reduced.
Harkness. Only a fool
Harkness.
fights in a burning house.
Yes, great line.
Yeah,
Great
right.
line.
Of course, I don't have to say it. I can play it. Because I've got a bunch of
Only a fool fights in a burning house.
Oh,
it
on
too bad.
Ansara, he just owns this episode. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but there are several people who really own this episode, and Ansara is one of them.
Well, and
Oh.
I do want to
I
highlight
agree.
that this is a great Klingon episode.
Mm.
It is.
Yeah, that's why it's in my top 10.
In some ways, it's the first Klingon episode because this is really
Well-
setting the pattern for how they, became later. I mean, up until, Kang's very, savage but honorable portrayal, they were much more regarded as kind of sneaky and conniving and sort of, mustache twirling. But this kind of set really the tone for what would become the later Klingons.
True.
Absolutely. Well, what we saw before, they behaved with what we expect from Romulans today.
Hmm.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and
True.
this episode set them apart. For sure.
And that is largely also due not to Mr. Ansara, but Susan Howard, who plays Mara, and she did a magnificent job in this episode. Magnificent.
Yes, I agree. I want to say hello to Keith E. because we got a lot of chat here. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, Ariba Bell, what's up, C plus C Nation,
Mm.
and thank you. And oh whoa, it's really snowing over there. Snowstorm, -C Celsius, 18 Fahrenheit.
Keep it
hovering
over
at
there.
I would say
1 degree Celsius, so everything over here is sloppy and slippery.
Oh, we're already getting a rating from Gavin Blackburn. Gives this one a B plus.
I would
That's
say
too high.
I would
No,
say
but, let's see.
I would say everyone set their phasers to fun.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Penny. Let's see.
Hi,
Hello,
Penny.
Penny. Hello, Penny.
Penny.
Hello.
Oh, pop culture curator should be here. He's not here. He can't be here. He had
Oh.
to go
Got
to
my
a
phaser right here.
doctor appointment. He
There
would
you
be
go.
here if you could.
Wrong style though.
Sorry
Oh,
you
well.
can't be here, Pop.
That's okay,
Very
though.
sorry you can't
It's a
be here,
phaser.
Pop.
Phaser's
Sorry,
a phaser.
Pop.
Pop
Hello
culture
there, Pop.
curator, I am going to
Pop.
do my best to point out anytime that Walter Koenig's hands touch the lady when
Oh, dear.
that makeup goes all over the wall.
Oh,
Like,
dear.
The production of this episode, the lighting of this episode, I am
Oh, speaking of
firmly
which,
convinced that part of the reason for the lighting decisions in this episode is because William Shatner had a cold sore.
Mm?
Hmm.
Interesting.
really? Okay, well, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Also, so some of the production stuff that I talk about comes from a book called Star Trek 365 by Paula M. Block and Terry J. Erdman, which I learned about from the Cloud Times channel, who, when they reviewed the original series in their Saturday night Star Trek reviews, and they're still doing their they're always going to be doing Saturday night Star Trek. And right now they're covering Voyager season 4. And so we're having a lot of fun over there. I'll also make some references from These Are the Voyages by Mark Cushman because he's got some good material. And so even though my slides are in order, you can talk about any part of the episode. And to help with that, I'm going to read the preview, the overview, I guess, for the Day of the Dove from the 365 book. Now,
Please do.
summoned to Beta 12A by a cry for help from the colonists on that world, Kirk and the Enterprise arrived to find nothing. There is no sign of a colony or after effects of its annihilation. As Kirk attempts to puzzle it out, a badly damaged Klingon ship arrives its infuriated Commander Kang blaming Kirk for the deaths of most of his crew. Kang attempts to claim the Enterprise as a replacement for his own crippled vessel. But although he and his crew come aboard, Kirk manages to keep them at bay until somehow all energy weapons aboard the ship disappear and inexplicably replaced with swords, and each side is evenly armed. Overcome by an all-encompassing sensation of bloodlust, both crews erupt into a frenzy of brutal combat aboard the Enterprise. But neither side is aware that a malevolent energy creature has orchestrated the entire encounter. Now this entity has come aboard to feast upon the feelings of primitive hatred and the violence it has evoked.
Well done.
Yet,
Well read.
from
Cool. Thank you.
Of course. Yes, and thanks to everyone for being here today. Y'all mean so much to me, and I want to find out also what you guys think of this episode. It's pretty cool. It first aired on November 1st, 1968. It was written by Jerome Bixby and directed by Marvin Chomsky. And Jerome Bixby had written the script for Mirror Mirror. So
Yes.
and
He had actually done, I just want to point this out because this is a
Sure.
large part of why I really enjoyed this episode. Jerome Bixby, otherwise known as Drexel Jerome Lewis Bixby, has a large science fiction writing pedigree, and that goes back to the pulp days of writing science fiction. And he was even published in The Worlds of Tomorrow. So I just want to show respect to a guy who created what I consider, just like Stone Racket, one of the top 10 episodes of one of the top 10 science fiction shows ever made. And the writer must always be given credit when they do a really good job. And I think Drexel did a fantastic job here.
I think so too. And what surprised me about Bixby was that he was okay with the rewrites. He didn't mind being overwritten.
That's one thing I had a problem with. I think it was the script editor that instead of having Kang, once he's beamed on board and he realizes he's been fooled, instead of just saying, he replaced the line, now I'm forgetting it.
Tell me part of it. I have it.
The trust of an earther. And he replaced it with liar. And it's like the trust of an earther. I'd like that better.
Oh, that would have been said so well by Mr. Ansara.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez.
That would have hit on the theme perfectly.
Yes.
And if I may, once we get towards the end, if I may I read the deleted tag scene?
Oh, please do.
Definitely. So Marvin Chomsky was, of course, directed the episode, and he's one of the few who made it in just 5.5 days. So the only other one who did this was Mark Daniels, who shot The Menagerie in 5.5 days and the Doomsday Machine in 5 days.
And also, Mr. Chomsky is related to Noam Chomsky, but more importantly, he also did a couple of episodes of Wild Wild West and other genre stuff. So this was a dream team. Having Chomsky and Drexel together, I think worked out very well for all of us.
And do we all know his previous Star Trek episode? Because this is his second one that he directed. But what was this previous one?
I'm so glad Chomsky got to direct a good episode this time.
Yeah. Because his previous episode was the dreaded "And the Children Shall Lead."
No, Jill, you remember I suffered the pitchforks and torches for that episode, but please go on, Stone Racket and Jill, please go on.
Of course. Well, you made your case well, and I was glad to have it.
Luckily, we're not going to have to suffer disagreement on this episode, but that's fantastic. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, Gavin Blackburn says,
whatever you do, don't shut up.
Kirk is not great with planets. He forgot about SETI Alpha 5, and now he has misplaced a colony. That is one problem I have with the episode because they're
Yeah.
like, nobody's here.
Well,
Okay, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, it's a glaring error. It's like, well, don't they already know where all their colonies are? Even their most
Lady-
recent ones. It's like, yeah, you'd think they'd. I
No,
don't know.
no. That's no. Before we get into the episode, because it's a major part of the episode,
Yeah.
the alien, the creature, whatever we want to call it, is actually
Mhm.
manipulating memories in this episode.
Oh, that's
set up
true.
very
That's true.
clearly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he's at work
Oh,
right
you know
away
what?
with
Okay.
their with
Welcome-
playing with their thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome
so
to
That's a good
I
point.
give that one a pass. I give that one a
Yeah.
pass because Chekhov never had a brother, and he's complaining about the Klingons killing his brother. It's like, dude,
Precisely.
come
if
on.
If I
He
may
was brother.
interject with
Yeah.
the with another episode of Scott's Beta Canon from the Q Continuum books, as authored by Greg Cox. This particular energy being never gets a name. This is actually another offshoot of the Q Continuum.
No, it ain't.
It according to the Greg Cox
That's
books,
great.
it is a fleck of the continuum, and the reason that it is attempting to take the Enterprise and the Klingons out of the galaxy is
Oh.
because there is a being outside of the Great Barrier of the Galaxy,
Oh dear God.
or galactic barrier, called Zero, that is calling that particular part of the continuum back. Yeah, no, this
Okay.
is part of the books. If you check out the
But
Greg
that's
Cox
interesting.
novels,
Hmm.
Okay.
and
well,
it's all beta canon. It's all nothing.
I'd say it's gamma cannon.
No,
It's way down there.
It's bullpucky
Dude.
cannon, is what it is. It's
It's
bullpucky. That's
DC
bullpucky.
Comics
Bullpuck.
bullshit.
Get the pokes up.
No,
But
it
I'm just saying-
it can't be anything associated with the Q because the thing is either parasitic or symbiotic, one of the two.
It's an
It-
offshoot. It is something that it was you remember when Q was made to be human?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yes.
just saying, we're
Yes.
talking about Star Trek.
Yes.
No. My attitude was not towards you. It was towards what you were referencing, and there's a difference. Okay,
Well,
but
Q-
yes, I remember.
So I'm just saying, like, this is another god being who can
Mhm.
control anything it wants to do whatever it wants. And I understand that as being an impetus of the story. I also appreciate that a lot more of the story in Star Trek 3 or Star Trek season 3 is things invade the Enterprise more so than in seasons 1 and 2. Usually it's we go down to a planet, but in season 3 it's a lot more about what's going to mess up the Enterprise.
Mm.
And so I think that there are a lot of people, a lot of authors that try and sort of elevate Star Trek 3. I mean, Star Trek season 3 to be a little bit better. I want you to, people want you to view this through a prism of, yeah, but what if we apply what if we retcon things? And it's like, well, that makes it a little better. And I think that a lot of the beta canon, a lot of, as Subcommander Tal has said, a lot of the gamma canon is something that I apply to this. And I'm like, you know what? I dig it.
There's
Yeah,
gamma. There's gamma
with-
cannon now. Are you
Yeah,
kidding
well,
me?
according to the Romulan,
I'm so old.
So what it is I don't mind talking about that because we know so very little about this creature. So you can come up with head canon as long as you're very clear this is not real canon and
It
it's,
is.
you're just playing with your imagination. That's not a
I
problem.
am playing with myself. Yes.
No.
So I want to read a bit from
Please do.
the 365 book.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Commander Kang is regarded as one of the most prominent warriors in Klingon history.
Mm.
Decades after the events of Day of the Dove, he still would be making his presence known in the Star Trek universe, specifically in episodes on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Blood Oath, which also featured John Colicos and William Campbell, in reprisals of the earlier Star Trek roles, and again on Star Trek Voyager in Flashback. Similarly, much of the strength of Day in the Dub is otherwise in an otherwise uneven third season comes from actor Michael Ansara's powerful performance as the self-assured leader king. Ansara's unique appearance, his family immigrated from Syria when he was 2 years old, contributed to a career in which he played a variety of ethnic roles, primarily Native Americans. Although he appeared in more than 50 productions on stage, screen, and television, his single most recognized role was as Cochise?
Coaches?
Cochise, thank you, in the series Broken Arrow.
I disagree with that statement. My favorite Michael Ansara
I knew he was
performance
gonna
of
say
all
that.
time is as Mr. Freeze from
Yeah, you
Batman
just
the
had to wait
Animated
a
Series.
second.
Yeah, I'm not going to wait because the author of this particular tome said that their most recognizable role, and I was like, okay, gold medal Kang, silver medal, yeah, exactly, the barking dog, and then third medal, bronze medal is gonna be Mr. Freeze.
His performance. Okay.
Well, what about his 3 appearances on I Dream of Jeannie as the Blue Djinn?
No, Stone Racket.
Ooh.
He was in one of the best episodes of the original Lost in Space and one of the best episodes of the 1960s Outer Limits.
Yes,
So
indeed.
this guy's got.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I mean, he's got sci-fi acumen before he gets here.
You betcha. That's right. I totally agree.
And then he was Kane on Buck
yes.
Rogers after Henry Silva. I mean, no, this guy's got sci-fi oozing out of his pores, and he's appreciating whatever role he's given. And he worked his way up. He worked his way up. He was an extra in the 10 Commandments, dagnabbit.
Right.
And
So was I.
I love Mr. Ansara.
He played Judas in The Robe.
Mm-hmm.
And another role, another sci-fi role that predates even his Outer Limits appearance. Oh no, it'd be right after. It'd be the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the motion picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted, and the only thing that I wanted to highlight is that when anyone talks about Michael Ansara and his very storied career, I think that it is something to be celebrated, not to be like which one is the best, but which one touched you. And
good point.
And it's incredible. It's incredible. This man was prolific and impact-chewing.
And he had
I'm glad that you brought up the Mr. Freeze, Scotty, because that first Mr. Freeze episode is his voice acting is just superb.
He did a lot of voice
acting
acting.
of that Batman animated episode is it redefined Mr. Freeze as a character.
Yes, it did.
For an entire fandom. And I think that it is in no small part based on Mr. Ansara's performance.
So, but Jill, since we're at the start of the episode now, is it okay to just compliment Mr. Ansara here for how he comes out of the gate?
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Mr. Ansara show, everybody.
And you did say he was in Lost in Space. The episode was The Challenge.
The Challenge.
Yes,
yeah.
he played the ruler. He played the father of Kurt Russell in one of Kurt Russell's earliest roles. Kurt Russell was the kid in that one, and I have to mention that out of respect to pop culture, who's here listening.
That's what I was going to say. Hungry is that I was going to ask Jill. Do you ever do anything in regards to that? There, Lost in Space.
I do. Pop Culture Curator reviews Lost in Space every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time, and it's a ton of fun. We just did a review. We're in season 2 right now, so we're in color.
Sub-Commander Tall, I think wanted to say something earlier.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm really enjoying the discussion and the back and forth. I just wanted to mention he also had a one single very memorable appearance in Babylon 5 as a techno mage, which was a really good episode of Geometry of Shadows, I believe it was called. And the other thing I'll say about him is, I think we all love the Deep Space Nine episodes where these 3 original Klingons from TOS return, but I really only felt like it was Michael Ansara's Kang that really felt like the same character as was in the original series. I mean, John Colicos did a great job, but he felt, he felt a little bit different to me. Same with William Campbell. I don't just mean the makeup, but Kang was thoroughly Kang. It just felt like the same guy, and it's great performance.
I would like to, and if
Yeah.
I may just volley for one moment, is that out of all of those Klingons that you mentioned, Kang, Kor, and Kolos, I think that I prefer Kang without the makeup. Like, I think that the performance comes through much stronger. But once you start piling prosthetics onto Michael Ansara, I'm just like, I don't care.
The way he is now, Scotty, is perfect. What Jill is showing us
on
now
screen
is perfect.
currently, this is exactly what I expect a Klingon to be. And I hate to say it, some people consider this makeup to be culturally insensitive. But I find this to be like, this is I'm fine with it. But then
I think
again,
it may
I'm
be a
like
little
that.
thick, but I don't see it that way. The
His
insensitive
eyebrows.
thing. That's a weird projection, and you're not really understanding Star Trek if you make that connection.
Agree.
True. And also as humans, and I think Stone Racket will agree with this, as humans, we have a wide variety of complexions, skin textures, eyebrow structure, etc. And I say that as an illustrator who's had to illustrate all of them. So it is ridiculous to say this portrayal is racist. It would be more accurate to say it is anti-racist.
Well, and also, like, it is a science fiction show. So if we ended up with like purple people or green people, and then sometime in the future they review our historical records and they're like, why didn't you like purple people? And it's like, oh, we're sorry, we didn't know at the time.
My problem with the makeup is just that it's a little greasy, not the color.
It's too shiny, Jill. It's too shiny.
I think it references their temperate nature. They either run hot or like they are just a sweaty people. And also,
that's headcanon again.
Have you seen it? No, come on. Have you seen Star Trek: The Next Generation? These people sweat.
Okay, before we continue, I do want to finish what I was reading.
Yeah, sorry,
but
Jill.
that was amazing. No, don't be sorry. That was wonderful. His performance as King is much of a kind with the noble but fierce Apache leader, which is funny to read right after what we just said. Now in his 80s,
Most ironic.
Regularly voices the character of Mr. Freeze.
Yay.
In the animated Batman series.
I don't watch Spider-Man.
TV movies. Klingon science officer Mara wielded authority over many of the 437 warriors on Kang's battlecruiser, although some of her clout may have come from her position as Kang's wife. Aside from the respect she commands from Kang's crew, by sheer virtue of her existence, Mara occupies an important role in Star Trek history. She is the only Klingon female viewers would meet during Kirk's 5-year mission, although observant viewers may spot another female who remains anonymous within Kang's crew.
True. She comes out on the teleporter.
I saw her
yeah.
too.
I liked her better because she was single.
Hey, I got notes on that later, Scotty. Let's hold on for a little moment.
Although
what's interesting, and I just want to say, Mara plays a Klingon science officer.
We're never getting to
this. Incredible.
Well, no, the thing is, we know she's important from the beginning because she's actually got the Klingon version of medals on her outfit, which get taken off when Chekhov does the bad thing, which I know we're going to get to later on in discussion of the episode.
Chekhov's going to get to it. We're just going to talk about it.
No, don't, Scotty. I'm trying to dance around the issue. But
well, we're going to get there. And if you want to dance.
Oh, she does. She is the science officer, and I appreciate her as that. Yes. And so she's like you can compare her to Spock because she's a science officer. Although the concept of women in combat positions was still years in the future for Americans, female Klingon warriors apparently didn't face the same barriers. Besides Mara, the Star Trek audience would soon meet Valkyries in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, Vixis in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, and the delightfully trashy Duras sisters.
Hey, they're
Star
not
Trek: The Next
trashy. They're just
Generation.
tough.
Oh,
They're not trashy. They're not trashy. They're just naughty. There's a difference.
The Duras sisters proved that they have motorboats on.
Oh
Kelowna.
God, I'm
Actress Susan Howard, who played the first among Klingon females, is best remembered for her portrayal of Donna Krebs on the series Dallas. There, I got through the text.
Well done.
Hunger
Think
got
about
excited
Falcon
and
Crest?
phased out there for a minute.
Thinking about Mara.
Mm.
Mhm. And
I want
and
to
so
know. I want to know what other things she was in, but we should really get to this episode.
She was in a Columbo episode.
oh, okay. You want to know about her?
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, a little bit.
She was in a Columbo episode, the one with Robert Culp, the most dangerous or the most crucial game.
Is that the one on the boat? No.
She played the wife of Dean Stockwell's character that gets clubbed with a chunk of ice by Robert Culp's character in his swimming pool. Remember that one?
Well,
yeah.
I remember all the Death Stars.
It's a second season Columbo episode. Susan Howard was in that.
Huh. I'm gonna have to check it out again.
Yeah.
So she was 24. She had been appearing on primetime network shows. She was in Tarzan, an episode of Tarzan.
With Ron Eli.
One for the monkeys. Two
Hey.
Don't read the titles.
The Flying Nun.
Yay.
And Iron Horse.
She was all
Working
over the
actress.
place. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, she had good work ethic, and clearly this was a very different role for her compared to the other stuff that she was doing. And I thought she put her heart and soul into it. I really did.
She was really good. Yeah.
Well,
A largely
her-
silent performance, but when she does assert herself, and again in canon, she isn't like as a science officer. She's not there to prove a thesis. She's put in a position where she has to disprove a Federation premise thesis. It is a situation. She expresses from the Mara, the character, does express
You can
from the
say
very
it.
beginning. What?
What?
No, I just think from the beginning of the episode, I think that she's attempting to disprove everything that she encounters with the Federation and Starfleet. And as the episode goes on, she is proven correct. And then there is a turn later on where she's like, she uses her scientific Klingon mind. And I've met a couple. I've met a half Klingon scientist, and she was smoking hot.
Well, I mean, the smoking hot doesn't matter, but what the other things you said do matter.
Come on, let me praise Belana Torres.
No, but I'm agreeing with what you're saying, where a lot of times in science, you have a turn.
I tend to go to the beauty.
I know, but I mean, the thing that's wonderful about her in this role and this role itself is it is written by somebody who really appreciates real science fiction, and the actress is embracing that. And sometimes actors and actresses do not embrace the science fiction. Sometimes they don't like being in a genre role. And it was very clear that Madame Howard was giving everything to this as much as Mr. Ansara was giving it to the character of Kang. And so her efforts in this, and there are some micro expressions here that are fantastic, that are just amazing. Like, later on we'll get to when she's on the bridge. When she's on the bridge and Kirk is arguing with one of his officers, and she's trying to prove that she's had the turn of heart. And there's a moment where she's basically right about to say, yes, I will help, because she's recognized that her scientific thesis is incorrect. And that, for a science fiction show that didn't want to involve too much science fiction in the stories, that's very important.
And to expand on Mara's performance, not the character, but the actress, is that she is involved in a fairly aggressive assault scene. And her responses in that are natural and believable and sell the character. Except for the fact that she's a Klingon. She should have beat fucking Chekhov to the ground.
We didn't have the development. Then.
I
We didn't have the
apologize for
development.
the swear.
We didn't have the development of the this is the first time we're seeing real Klingons as we understand them now, and this is something that happens in comic books. I work professionally in them. You develop characters. Sometimes it takes a little while to get a hold on what these characters, what this race is going to be. And that's another wonderful aspect of this episode. We now have concretized, established Klingons as they will be from now on.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point. This is a very
Thank you.
foundational episode for Klingons, and so this is the launching point for that. And
may I ask a question in terms of a comparison that, of two, as a human, and I apologize, I'm just a human.
well,
but this season I've seen a female Romulan commander, and I've seen a female Klingon science officer. And if I were to compare the two at this point in time of the original series, I would say that the Romulan ladies are more forceful, and that the Klingon society doesn't necessarily promote the ladies.
Jill, could you put up that comment by Snortapoopas?
yeah,
again?
but first,
We have no devil, Kirk.
Theklar,
Well, we understand
god
about
of the
Snortapoopas is
says
close. Oh, go ahead.
the creature's name was Fred. You heard it here first.
He's
Hey,
close.
Fred.
He's close. It's not Fred. It's Eddie.
Oh, it's Eddie.
Eddie the Pinwheel. Eddie the Pinwheel. You know what I'm talking about, Stoneraker. We'll get to that later, but it's Eddie the Pinwheel, and you know why I'm saying that.
Stone
No,
Racket.
I don't. Oh, wait,
Stone
why?
Racket, sorry.
Why are you saying that?
Eddie's the robot from Fallout New
The reason I say Stoneraker is because I actually think, you're classier than a racket. It's more like Moonraker mixed with stone. So I'm giving you a compliment there. But
Thank you.
I like the novel and I like the movie. I know a lot of people hate the movie compared to the novel.
Okay.
Forgive me, but let's keep going with the episode. Please.
Yeah, I just want to say I just want to catch up with the chat. I disagree with Scotty. It has nothing to do with the Q. Gavin Blackburn says, what does the Q continuum need with the starship?
That's funny. I like
Yeah,
that.
what does the Q continuum need with the starship, Scotty? This
Yeah.
entity thrives off hatred. The Q doesn't need other life forms to survive.
Wait. It is
No, I can't
expressly
wait. I gotta
said.
get through this quick.
No, I know, but I'll be brief. It expressly said in this episode that the whatever entity it is does feast upon negative energy, and so it needs the negative energy to recharge itself. They say that in this episode.
It does.
So
It's true.
it's
Yeah, I
it's
think
like
the
a
comment is
Q
creating a
booger.
contrast with the Q, who don't seem to need that sort of.
It's now
Wes Kagel's here. Hello to Wes Kagel.
What's
Hello, Wes.
He was
Hello.
also a Russian general in the $6 million.
He was in so much. I mean, it would take us 2 hours to list his IMDb.
Apparently, you could have a whole
He
live
was the
stream just
very
about him.
model of a Russian major general.
Oh,
Frankie
damn
Walker
it.
says, please subscribe, share, hit the like, and select live chat. Yes, thank you. And hello to Max Redstone. What about
Hey,
Azog
Max.
Bohr from the Undiscovered Country?
Yeah.
She's cute. No, she's not.
Okay, so just getting back to the script here for a moment. Sorry, Jill, we're hurting cats. But the
I'm just
situation-
objectifying Klingons over here.
But the thing that's wonderful about this scene that Jill is showing, and that is wonderful about Drexel Bixby, the writer, is that, and Jill and I talk about this a lot, there is so much foreshadowing and showing, not telling in this opening. Because when I watched this as a kid, I was thinking, okay, what the hell's going on with Kirk here? What's going on with McCoy? They are being very out of character. And
Extremely. They're paranoid.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And then, the fight breaks out immediately. Generally in Star Trek, we have at least a reason for a fight to break out, but no. And then Chekhov is going ape. Ape S. You know what I mean by Ape S.
Mhm.
And
He's completely maniacal the entire episode.
yes, and then after we get past this cold open, and very quickly we well, I mean, even during this cold open, we see the creature coming in, and it's just observing. It's not trying to communicate with anybody. It's not trying to say anything to anybody. It's just sitting there watching, and its color does change in this cold open, and that told me as a kid, oh, you son of a bitch, you got something to do with this. You are part and parcel.
It's so funny because at the end of this, and absolutely, like, all of this is fiction. The reason that the Enterprise is there, fiction. The reason that the Klingons are there, fiction. There is no colony on this planet that they've been ordered to come. Like, it's just, and again, this is why I'm leaning towards some outer continuum.
No,
But
stop it!
I won't. The thing is,
Jill,
it is drawing them to the
I like
planet.
the shot of the
Jill skipped over
Yes.
the
What did I
Klingon
skip over?
the Klingon version of a joy buzzer.
Right.
Oh no!
But
The
but,
agonizer.
But
The
there
torture
is-
device. The
but there is no-
torture.
the Klingon version of a joy buzzer, there is no joy, there is no fun,
but
only
it is.
pain.
It's a repurpose of the original.
Poor Chekhov, he
Agonizer.
gets to scream again.
Yeah.
Well,
He loves
I mean,
screaming.
Koenig is really good at that. Let's be honest, sir.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, you understand this, Stone Racket, and I still consider you Stone Raker because that's a more
Stone Raker. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
exactly.
Chekhov's his
Vocal cords are great for this,
Yeah.
Jill. A few people can actually do a good theatrical scream, but Mr. Koenig can do that.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
It's
that's why-
interesting. I mean,
That's
he
why
had
that's his catchphrase is screaming.
he had his. I mean, Walter
How do you print
Koenig.
that on a?
We know the
card?
scene. I mean, we'll talk about it later on with Mara, but he's quite good, Walter Koenig, at being malevolent. Even that brief moment he has in Mirror Mirror where he tries to assassinate Kirk. When he does straight drama, I hesitate to say he's not the best, but like comedy or being evil, he was good at those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill my brother!
He
But
has
it's also
no
interesting.
brother.
It's interesting in terms of the nature in which Chekhov was introduced to the series, and in season 3 and season 2. Now that you mention it, with Mirror Mirror, he becomes he can be an antagonist at the drop of a hat. And we don't even need to know why. He is Russian, which was also the antagonist of the era in which this television show was made. And as soon as the episode is over and he's done the bad thing, it's like, we forgive him. He was possessed by communism. It's like, we don't know. It's just like, he does so much bad stuff in this episode. And then it's like, and Spock is like, it wasn't his responsibility. And it's like, okay, we forgive him for the attempted assault.
Well, yeah, he's the first one who gets majorly influenced. They're all influenced by it. They're all out of character, but he's the one who's most influenced sooner than
But he always
everybody
goes
else.
crazy.
Yeah, he does.
He does it in the Medusan episode. He does it in the Old People episode. Like, if you need someone to scream and go crazy as the series goes on,
It's his voice, and he's also supposed to be young. He's supposed to be
So
younger
he's
than
like
these other
an
people.
alto, and now we're just let him scream, and that's his whole
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
That's his
Yes.
function.
Remember, like, Jill, you and I have been doing this for a little bit, and remember at the beginning when I was like, oh man, I really like the character interactions between Spock and Chekhov, and it looks like he's somewhat of Spock is a mentor to Chekhov. Like, I love this sort of journey, and then we get to a certain point where it's like, hey, we need one of the good guys to turn bad for a second.
Yeah, well, at the same time, though, he did show up in this episode with his tricorder, so he was still doing his junior science officer duties.
But as
But yeah,
I'm
he does go
pretty
crazy
sure
in
it
this
was
episode,
Sub Commander
yes.
Tal said, everybody is acting cagey and weird at the beginning of this episode. Who
Well,
said
Which
that
is
It's
the
first?
sort of-
script. That's the
says-
script. That's the beauty
No, but
of this
that's the
script.
entire. There is no colony that they're attempting to rescue. It was
That's part of the
drawn here
script!
by the alien.
That's part of the script, though, Scotty.
It
It's
is
all
part of
feeding
it.
back. It's all feeding back to the initial idea that Mr. Bixby had, which is carried through this entire story. And this is the thing I'm just going to say because it's through. I'm not jumping ahead because it's throughout the entire script. This is one of the few Star Trek episodes we have which is completely show versus tell. We get shown something. We as an audience figure it out, and then Mr. Spock, on occasion, but not too much, will explain it to anyone who's not capable of following along. And that's one of the reasons I love this episode
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
and that's why I love Spock. Really,
Yes.
Yeah.
he's so good at relaying that information, but making it interesting.
Except
And-
for that one time that he was
and speaking of-
racist.
Well, that's this episode, and Chekhov is being racist right here, right now. He says, "Leave them where they are, non-existence."
Mm.
Well, but that's good advice.
Yeah, but I mean, we're going to get to it later, but that's nothing compared to what happens with DeForest
Right.
Kelly
It's
when he gets to open up. I mean,
Wait.
oh dear God.
Guys,
Right, this is just the start of it.
Yeah,
May I interrupt
Dr.
for just
McCoy
one moment?
Dr. McCoy becomes a rabid racist. It's like, no, say it isn't so.
The thing is, the
Oh,
first Kelly
Scotty's
is really
Scotty's
good at
way more racist in this episode than
Yeah,
oh,
true.
that's true. Yeah, he
But
does
here's-
his share too.
That
Before
hair.
we move on, and we can talk about racism all the
The hair.
long day, but I want to say that I think that this episode is the episode that made it so Scotty figured that he could save himself and Franklin when the Janolan went down on the Dyson sphere. This
Maybe.
is when he could figure that out.
Or Franklin.
He deserved better.
Yeah. Here, that's why Scotty was only 50% successful.
Exactly. Jill
Yeah.
gets it.
That's a good point. I like that. I like that connection a lot. And Sarah said about this episode, Star Trek was a pleasure to do. Very rarely do things go that smoothly, but in filming Day of the Dove, my fellow actors, the director Marvin Chomsky, and the basic story settled in well together from the beginning.
Well, to be honest, Jill, although they are different personality types, you look at Marvin Chomsky, who directed this, and you look at Noam Chomsky, his cousin. There are major personality differences between the men, but there is a respect of the craft in the way that they write and present. And I think that and direct in the case of Martin. So I think there was a benefit to that with this episode, particularly since there are so many metaphors for East understanding West. I mean, I don't want to go into the political stuff, but there are a lot of political subtextual references in this episode, but I think the overall stuff is more important than that political stuff. I think the psychological, dare I say, even spiritual stuff is more important. I mean, you look at Day of the Dove. Day of the Dove is a biblical reference. It's not actually a political one. You look at the name Amara. That actually comes from three sections of our society. So number one, you have the Old Testament. Number two, you have a goddess of death from India. And then there's a third one, which is a Slavic beast that sits on your chest so you can't breathe while you're sleeping. I mean, there's so many little bits of delicious aspects of culture to enjoy in this episode. And
Well, you don't have to get too political because you've got propaganda is mentioned in the episode.
yes, nicely
and
said, Jill. Nicely
That's,
said.
I mean, it's a fascinating point there because we're looking at a scene where Mara kind of obliquely references these Federation, right? Whatever it is, death planets, or I know what they, and we have a mirror image of that when McCoy bursts onto the bridge later and says,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what Klingons do to prisoners. But, and we,
I've heard of their atrocities, their death.
under the influence of the alien at that point. But, we do know Klingons have things like the mind sifter that returns people to vegetables. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not out of the realm of possibility that they would have death planets or things like that. I don't know if it's totally fake or whether it's just the creature, but it's an interesting parallel.
To completely agree with you. I mean, and let's remember when this episode came out and when it was being made. 1968. That was a hard year for every country on the planet. Every country on the planet. And there was a lot of weird, crappy stuff going on. So the fact that this show had the guts to kind of reference...
We can say the name Vietnam. We can say it because that is a big part of Star Trek.
Yes. Okay. I was just trying to be polite, Jill. I didn't know. You know how I am. You know, I'll be oblique when I feel I need to.
And I wanted to make sure to say hello to James Caserta and Jeff B because we had a few people walking in here, and I want to say
Hey,
hello.
Jeff B.
Brogu also. Scotty is racist.
Hey, Brogu.
He is to Spock very specifically. Booger 414 says, "Sorry, I'm late." Hello, hello, Booger. As a polar bear, I don't find the term buzzface racist. It's merely descriptive. Says
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, like if someone calls me chubby, I'm chubby. I don't care. It's okay. But, you know, to go back to what you were saying and the previous point, there was a lot of there were, to use the proper grammar, there were a lot of experiments going on with mind control and shifting memories back around 1968. So on one side, it is just science fiction, but on the other side, it's actually salient to the time of when this episode is being produced and when it is being released, shall we say. Not just shown, but released. Yes,
Hungry, you're referring to Artichoke and MK Ultra.
Yes, I am, directly.
Yeah, that started...
back in the 50s, late 50s, wasn't it?
Back actually in the late 40s.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and especially it around the Korean War. That's when, and it continued. And they said, "Well, we stopped doing that." No, no, they did not.
And that's the power that this entity has, is to control your mind, and so that's interesting to hear about the history behind the idea of it.
One thing I wanted to mention, Hungary was talking about, even as a child, seeing this for the first time, he got it right away because he was watching the entity and it turned red. He got it, but then you read Mark Cushman's These Are the Voyages, and he's so harsh, or he's so hard on this episode, saying, "Why is Kirk acting like this? Why is he like?" I'm going, it's the entity. Come on. He's
exactly.
And he's not as affected anywhere near the degree as Chekhov, but it shows the entity turning that color.
Yes.
And it's like, to me, it's very apparent that the influence is apparent right then and there.
Correct. And in addition, I mean, I got a whole paragraph about this in my notes, but there used to be arguments on message boards back between 95 and 99 over what was Shatner's real performance in this. Was it goofy and was he being lazy or sick, or was it being brilliant because he's taking into account the script? I argue in the former. I would say he's being brilliant. He's portraying Kirk as being affected by the entity, and that's why his behavior is so different to all other episodes in the series, the original series.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Exactly.
I think
Captain Kirk would have said something to Chekhov in the transporter room after he made those comments about Klingon.
He would.
Well, there's another point.
There's an important plot point in terms of, and I think it informs the relationship between Sulu and Chekhov, which I really enjoyed, is when Sulu says, it's like, who's Piotr?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's a lovely character moment because Sulu and Chekhov, they're friends, and they spend a lot of time together, so they know each other pretty well.
They sit at the same desk.
But, I mean, Scotty argues the microcosm, I argue the macrocosm. And so to argue the macrocosm here, and Jill knows what I mean, the interesting thing about, and it's just before the screenshots we're seeing here, is you notice that everyone's crazy on the planet when the entity is there. Then they get back to the Enterprise, and suddenly they're sane again for a brief moment before the entity gets on the Enterprise, and they all start going ape crap again.
Ooh, good point.
I'm telling you,
Brilliant
man,
writing.
it's a
Brilliant writing.
And Christine Hurd does explain it overall. I think what I love most is the way this episode illustrates that hate comes from fear. And so yes, I can definitely the suspicions that everybody has, the humans have with the Klingons, and how that turns into hostility. That is this episode for sure.
I would also like to point out, now that you mentioned the word Klingons, I would like to say that Michael Ansara is the one who made it Klingons. And at this point forward, like, you can make fun of Klingons until your cows come home. But Day of the Dove is when someone said, "We are Klingon." And Mara says, "I am Klingon." It is from this episode forward, it's Klingon.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's true.
And you mentioned Klingon planets earlier. Then Sora Pupus mentions, of course, Klingons have planets like World Pente that not that exists yet. And did you say Kronos is here? No?
No, I was referring to the Klingon homeworld.
Oh, okay. Of course. I don't know.
Since you're doing, Jill, since you're doing this shot here, and because we don't have Pop here to explain it, can I point out why? And this is one of the things I mean, as a kid I didn't know, but I learned later why the alien entity looks this way. Okay.
How?
Okay. Well, Scotty, if you know, you go ahead. You probably know as well. So
I don't.
You go ahead.
I was waiting for you. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm sitting on Santa Claus's knee.
No,
and you're going to tell me about the special effects. So please.
Well, I just wanted to say it. I just wanted to say it now so people can appreciate it as we go on discussing the episode versus just at the end. And this was actually done using a child's pinwheel bought. No, I'm not joking. Bought from the Santa Monica Pier, because apparently there was a budget problem, and the person who had to create the special effect, and they were using what is referred to, this is before green screen or blue screen, they were using Lumacolor, where you photograph something against black, okay, to get the and then you adjust the colors, you use gel lights, etc., and then you have to composite the image in the old school way. So the fact that the alien looks so good when basically all they did was slow crank the camera so it's spinning faster, and they had a fan, like a little hand fan. I'm not joking. They had a little hand fan making the pinwheel spin. Okay. Right. And then they're photographing it, but they're photographing it slower. So it's like, if you photograph faster, you get slow motion. If you photograph slower, you get fast motion. And for it to turn out this beautifully in every shot, you see it. And I'm talking the old school special effects. I only watch the old ones, not the newfangled ones.
All right, Oldie Olsen, calm down.
Yeah, you know what? I'm Homer Simpson's father. Screw you.
Child at the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the effects that you're even seeing here, they're gorgeous. I mean, for 1968, they're fantastic. But in 70s, watching reruns, the 1970s, it was juicy. It was delightful. It was delicious.
We did also, and thank you so much, because that segues correctly into reference to the Klingon transporter beam that happens at the beginning of this episode when we have the disabled ship and it comes down and it's a new transporter beam. And we were talking about that recently, and it's like, do you know any different transporter beams on Star Trek? Like the original series? Like, what are your ideas? Like my big one is Lee Merriweather when she turns into a zipper.
Oh yes.
Like, that's the big one. But when I saw this one, that was like, this is the first time that I've seen, aside from like the boing,
Yeah.
just like transport immediately kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that was a cool special effects that happened. No, I think the special effects in this from the original are glorious. I watched the new ones because I'd never seen this one in the new remaster. But like, I love it. I think, and again, I'm gonna have to. There have been instances I've said in the past that they don't change it. They have changed it in the updates, but I think that this is one episode where it's like I don't. Aside from ship shots, they seem fine. And it doesn't change the narrative of the episode. It doesn't highlight the spectacle.
And also, this is clearly an energy being. Light is energy, as Jill knows. It doesn't need anything more. It is an energy being. What we're seeing on the screen is an expression of energy put into a recorded format. It is fine as it is.
Hungry.
Yes?
Boomer.
What did you think of the Klingon ship exploding?
Loved it.
Did you?
It looked better than Star Trek 6.
I'm talking to. I'm not talking to you, Scotty. No, that's
no. I accept it. I accept
that. No, that's okay. I'm just being silly. I wanted to get all of us to emulate Farm Film Report with Billy Saul-Herrock and Big Jim McBob. It blowed up good, real good.
Blowed up real good.
True.
I like the original better.
I prefer the original, I have to say. And I thought, I mean, see, the thing is, when you've actually tried to do this crap as a kid and as a teenager, I mean, I'm primarily an illustrator, not an SFX guy. You realize how hard it is when you try to do something, right?
It is.
And, it's much harder once you... Oh, man. And so the original... I prefer
the original is better.
Yeah.
The original is better.
Even the phasers I like in the original.
Yeah.
Ditto.
I like them both, but the original had a sense of finality to the death of the ship when you have to see that outline of it before it goes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And since you did mention the effects, I wanted to read from the book where it does talk about it. It doesn't talk about it as well as you did. You did it better, and so glad you did. they kind of skip over. They kind of skip over the technicalities.
Better, and now you're gonna say it.
Well, that's because Hungry is the age of a bloody tyrannosaur, and so I used to read things in print before they got left out of the internet. I always
thought you were a mother horta.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
The reason I'm reading it anyway is because they talk about something different. So the entity that fed on the anger it engendered among Kirk's and Kang's crew was never identified. Students of Star Trek history refer to the spinning, color-changing pinwheel as the Beta 12A entity after the planet where the warring parties the day the Dove first encountered it. But that designation doesn't take into account the non-corporeal entity may not have been native to the planet. Unlike the similar creature that fed on fear vibes, most commonly referred to as Red Jack. And Jack the Ripper related murders from Wolf in the Fold.
What are the other names? Red Jack?
Baratus, Kessler.
Baratus, Nikto!
Well, the other thing I really like about this is because
Jill wasn't done.
Let's keep going. Jill,
the Beta 12A entity didn't body hop. Instead, it visibly hovered above the mayhem it inspired, which meant, of course, that someone had to tell the folks in front of the camera where it was at any given time, so they'd all be gazing at the right spot. When the effects crew got to work after principal photography was completed, the problem was easily solved. Visual effects designer Mike Miner tied a multicolored beach ball to the end of a stick and held it in the appropriate spot. The actors simply had to follow the bouncing ball. It was
Sounds like Stuart Baird.
Literally.
Sounds like Ian McKellen complaining about Lord of the Rings and the X-Men.
Not why I got into acting.
It wasn't because of the ball, however, that the entity and the characters never appeared together in the same shot. That was the fault of the budget.
Mm.
Yeah, well,
It
you're
was.
the vault of the budget.
Hey, Scotty. But
I
you
was
know the
talking
other
about
thing.
you.
Oh, okay, then that's okay. If you insult me, that's fine. Just not Jill. But the thing is
Of course not.
yeah, with the thing I really also enjoyed since I was a kid is it's very clear this thing does not have a great amount of physical mass to it or density. It's an energy creature. So
Mhm.
I know it just slides into the walls, but that
Question.
works for me. That really
Question.
does work for me. Yes.
Hello, Cam Cam. Hi, Cam Cam.
Hey, Cam. Hey.
Yeah, what's
aside
up?
from the graphics, the effects does give a good idea of how fear and hate actually work. Sort of hidden from plain sight until you're looking for it, says Christine.
Excellent point,
Sure
Christine.
does.
Christine, I think that this is a far better episode in terms of racial hostility. I think that this is a much better microcosm of baseless aggression than, say, the Frank Gorshin episode. I tried to say it the title of the episode. I can't do it.
Okay.
It's one of those ones that I always trip over. It's like, let's be
Let that be your
vast
last battlefield.
Yeah, whatever. You say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let that be your last battlefield.
The Frank
the one-
Gorshin
the
episode.
You got
black
it.
and white one.
But can we at least agree that visually this, even though it was done simply, let's forget how cheap it was. We don't need to care about why it was cheap. We just need to look at people having the guts to make lemonade out of lemons.
I think
this visually.
And as we're talking about the visual effects, Vaskego mentioned, speaking of transporters, I like how we get to see that the Klingons have silent transporter tech.
Indeed.
And also visually different transporter tech.
Yeah.
It's visually again, I only watched the original episodes as they were shown on the television when I was a kid, but the transporter visual effect for the Klingons is significantly different to the Federation's. And that's a little detail that matters so much. It matters so much.
It looks like the German flag, and the only reason I don't give it any credit is because I don't think that it was silent on purpose. I think it was silent because they couldn't afford the sound effect.
You are such a bitch. I love you, Scotty.
You know what a Klingon is.
Yeah.
I think it was done on purpose because they had established beforehand, and I'm not saying I like this. I'm just saying it's established in the episodes that the Federation, particularly people on the Enterprise, thought that Klingons were kind of skulky and sneaky. So it would make sense that their transporter technology would be skulky and sneaky.
Okay, wait a minute. I think
we have a priority communique from Starfleet.
It's having
or actually from Romulus.
Oh yeah, from Romulus. Yes.
No, I just put in the chat. I'm at like 4% now, so I'm looking for a moment to recloak. This has been so fun, but unfortunately, I can't be on my actual computer
before you go though, I want your overall review of the whole episode. You can spoil anything. I don't care.
Oh, okay.
Let us know what you think. What you would rate it. Before you
go. Real quick. I've always really enjoyed this one. I think pretty much everyone I talk to likes this one. Maybe I would give it maybe an 8 out of 10. Some of the performances are a little broad, but for the most part, they're on the money. But
it's an A to F.
A to F. Okay, then a B, I guess I would give it. I wouldn't say it's an all-time classic, but it's a very good one. I find it very moody, very atmospheric. The idea of an alien that subsists on emotion. I mean, they did it a few times, but it's such a great idea. And, original series was just, for some of these budget reasons you were just talking about, Scotty, they had very creative aliens. It didn't turn into, forehead of the week kind of thing. They had to be creative because they couldn't afford like a huge amount of prosthetics. They just couldn't afford that. So you got these weird energy beings and things like that. I think the message is good. The only thing I don't like about this episode is it just ends so abruptly. And, I'm sure you'll get to that, but, with them laughing and then the little alien spins out into space, although that does allow us to canonically show where the engine room is on the ship. But I wish there had been maybe a little bit more of a wrapping up. But that aside, I love all of this episode. It's very engaging. So yeah, I would give it a B and enjoy the rest of the
Oh
discussion.
yeah, that's a
Very
great
well
point.
said.
Well,
Very
we'll
well
we'll
said.
hit on
Thank
that
you.
again later because that is kind of convenient. Like, oh, it's gone now. We don't have to worry about it.
Okay, have a great
That's
time,
amazing,
guys.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you so much.
Take care now.
Please
Yeah,
come
thank
back.
you. Yeah, thank you so much, Sub Commander Tal. I'm very grateful anytime he has any time to share with us. And so we
Wipe
just
my
got
face off of this screen,
a
please.
wonderful,
Please.
a wonderful report from him on his thoughts on this episode. Thank you so much for sharing.
Fantastic.
It's always such a pleasure. He's so fun to hang out with, and he knows his shit.
Yes, indeed.
Oh yeah, he loves Star Trek and he's great. And
Who
if
knew
you
that a
you want
guy
to see,
named-
He needs to be on more often.
well, I send him the link every time. It's up to him.
Oh,
to
pardon
decide
me.
to devote.
Yeah, pardon me.
Your pardon.
He's
Yeah,
got
Thank you.
you pay him.
he's got an open door, but he's mostly cloaked most of the time. So
But
So
whenever he
and
decloaks,
it's
it's always such a pleasure.
Yes,
It's always
indeed.
such a fun time to talk to Sub Commander Tal.
he's incredible. And if you want to hear more from him, he has a Twitter account, just the best Star Trek tweets. If you want to know more about him.
Well, and also, from what I understand, he's crewmates with Mr. Leslie TOS at Mr. Leslie TOS, which is all about Mr. Leslie. And yeah, if you'd like to hear a Starfleet perspective, he communicates.
Oh yay! Hello to
Hey,
the
Nerdo.
Dirt Portal life forms
Nerdporial.
in the chat. Hello.
I love Nerdo. He's fantastic.
I do
He
too.
is. He likes wizards, but that's not my problem.
I like.
Hey,
wizards
are you
too.
are you talking about the Bakshi wizards?
No, I'm.
Oh,
no.
okay. That's fine then.
No, I just recently, this is off topic. No, I just recently ordered all of the Harry Potter movies.
Mm.
I've just discovered that the only thing when it comes to wizards is that I don't like Lord of the Rings, and so that's it.
Oh no, that's okay. I just thought you were I thought we were going to have a side argument about Ralph Bakshi's Wizards from 1977, and I was like,
No, man, we
no.
got Klingons here.
Okay,
We got
fine.
Klingons about the place.
Oh, this is such a great shot. Oh, thank you, Jill. This is a wonderful slide.
And this
Oh.
is something that I did want to mention is just and this is something that is echoed from John Colicos and William Campbell is this sash, and it is reprised in I'm going to use all of the pretentious words that I know in Star Trek: The Next Generation with this particular gold sash. with
Yeah,
the
so I was like,
same-
hey, Worf.
It is Worf. It is a signifier that is carried over from the original series to the Next Generation of this man is a Klingon and he's proud of it. And
But
Kang is a commander and Worf is well, he will be eventually.
Another thing here with this slide, though, is it's part of a scene that really exemplifies the power in. I mean, we don't have a lot of examples of it, if any, in Star Trek TOS, but here it's establishing that a man and wife can be officers on the same Klingon ship, and they can enjoy a marriage, but at the same time completely fulfill their military duties. And that really meant a lot to me as a kid because I had a lot of military in my family.
I appreciate the fact that you said duties with such enunciation that I couldn't make a duty joke.
Hello,
I did that on purpose.
I want to welcome Dave's Dimension to the chat. He said,
Hey.
"What did I click on? I love Star Trek, but this panel sounds chaotic. Maybe I'm missing something."
Yes,
And
you
we
are, Dave.
talking
You're
about-
missing a lot.
We're talking about the episode, but sometimes
Turn on
we
the closed
do
captioning.
Get excited about things.
But this is an aspect where we have a science officer
yes, and
who's
hello to Tiger
female.
Stripes.
Hey, Tiger, we have a woman
she
who is
she agrees with him.
yeah. I mean, no. I mean, Mara is the science officer, but she's also incredibly tough and willing to fight back. And she's willing to, I mean, the actress Susan Howard, let's face it, she bit into that steak of the Klingon racism towards humans, but we also, to be fair, have the human racism to Klingons. It's a back and forth in this episode, and it's a very
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
yes.
carry on.
This episode had so much guts involved, from the writing to the filming to the makeup. Oh my God, that looks like I Love Lucy, Jill. Why did you show that? But that totally spoiled the point I was leading up to. But okay, somebody else talk.
Where you at, Ricky?
Ricky. But I'm an MST3K fan. I love it when Trace Beaulieu does the Ricky.
I'm sorry, Hungry. I believe you interrupted yourself.
I did. I admit that. I admit that completely. But the thing is that this character, Mara, and I'm not getting woke here, it's just she's so rich and multi-layered. And it's too bad we didn't have Susan Howard in a subsequent episode or a previous episode, because I think even though she did very little genre stuff compared to Michael Ansara, I think she had a real talent for it. I think she was fantastic in this, and she is one of the highlights of this episode for me. I have so many notes about her on this one.
Speaking of highlights, this is one of the highlights in terms of the dialogue in this
Thank
episode.
you.
4,000 throats may be cut in one night by a running.
And so that's an important, I don't know, it's part of Klingon culture, in how they understand war. And so this is a great building of their nature.
Oh, well, see, Jill, that kind of comes back to two old quotes that are often mistranslated from both the Mongol culture and also some of the Middle Eastern cultures. And they were allowed to do things like that back in 1968. We're not allowed to do things like that now. We're not allowed to have lines of script like that now. But
We're not allowed to appreciate humanity?
I'm trying to be subtle here, Jill. I'm trying so hard. But, you know, there are just aspects of things that humans have said over 2,000 years where we can't reference those things anymore.
Yeah, but if we don't reference them, then they're hidden. And so then we don't learn about them. So then we're saying they don't exist.
Well, more importantly, we can't avoid, certain atrocities that happened. You need to know about an atrocity to avoid repeating an atrocity.
Yes.
And you understand what I mean.
You can.
Oh, good.
The Nurgle life form says it perfectly. Subtlety was not with this Day of the Dove episode. And that's true. It does hammer it home for sure. Very easily. War is bad.
That's
bigotry, not a good thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I get what Nerdy is saying, but for 1968, this is still about as subtle as you can get on network television.
I think it does it well.
I think it does it beautifully. I mean, aside from a little bit of technical, I have no problems with this episode whatsoever, Jill. I got no problems with the script. I have no problems with the delivery of the script being read by the actors. It's just a couple of technical things. It's about the occasional lighting. It's about the occasional blocking, to use a filmmaking term, where some of the shots are a little bit too simplistic in the way the actors are set against each other. But when it comes to the actual essence and the core of the episode, I have no problem at all.
Oh yeah, me neither. I don't either. So Snortopupus Cuber says 4,000 seals can be eaten in a single night by a running bear.
I believe it.
That's a good comparison. War, what was it good for? Then Tolstoy renamed it to War and Peace.
Still a good song, man. Still a good song.
And so, of course, the entity can change matter as well as your mind. So it's changing the sword, the phasers into swords.
Those beautiful phasers into swords.
All of them. And even still, the crew tried to, they say, well, have them try to make some new phasers because we need phasers. This is crazy that we have to use these swords.
That is one of my only problems with this episode is they did cheap out on the swords a lot. And I mean, I used to collect blade weapons out of the artistry, not for the use. Never the use, only the artistry. And swords were a major part of that. And when Claudia says, "Oh, a claymore," that's not a real claymore. A claymore comes from clayhimer, to use the Scottish Gaelic, and it is a big weapon. It is actually the knights that used it, the Scottish knights that used it, were shorter than the actual weapon. And
you mean those little feathers he added at the end of it don't make it a claymore?
Jill, no, absolutely correct, Jill. We don't actually see someone using a proper claymore in this episode. We do see a cutlass weapon.
You know what bothers me about the weapons in this episode is that Sulu does not have his foil.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So that's my biggest problem.
Sulu was great in this episode, though. You know, I mean, we can have our problems with
the entity. Changed Sulu's foil into something more dangerous.
Mhm.
And one thing,
Very dangerous.
One thing about Sulu,
yes,
it's a first. This episode has a first with Sulu, and what is that? He's in the Jeffries tube. Yay.
Oh yeah, that's right. I do have that in my notes. I am so happy that he gets to be in the Jeffries tube. And
do you have that? I hope you have that shot, don't you?
I do have that shot once we get to it.
Yeah, once you get to it. Yeah.
The Nerd Boy Lifeform says, "I like the one time we see the armory, it is filled with swords."
Well, not only swords, but also halberds and volges in the background. It's in the background. I took special notes for that. And they never get used, but that would have been too difficult for the stunt crew to use. Far too difficult.
And he also makes a good point that evil entity is still out there. Yeah, so the end of the episode is just like, okay, we're
out there.
We drove you out, but we did nothing further. We're not talking about anybody following up with this. I guess they kind of do. They say, "We know about you. Well, we're on alert." That's all they say. That does any kind of close up for that. And here's a bit of the fight.
Stand and fight, you coward.
You have to imagine the rest.
Well, they had two major group fights in this, and the thing that's interesting in both instances is that if you look at them carefully and you see each sword hitting another sword, only 1 out of 3 times do you actually hear a sword hitting another sword. And that comes Stone Racket. I want to say Stone Raker, but I'm going to say Stone Racket. Out of respect to you. The thing is that Foley is expensive. And so creating different sounds and using them takes up time and money. So we didn't have the proper sound in association with these sword fights, but that's okay. Because when you're caught in the heat of the moment and the script is so good, you don't care. It's just happening. It's fine.
That's a good point.
It's fine.
And also a good point Christine makes is that the foil is not a melee weapon. So I'm not a swordsmith. So thank you so much for that clarification. Yes, the entity wanted the weapons to be more deadly and damaging than a foil. So that okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and so that's why Sulu gets a katana.
Yep.
Fair enough. The Klingons have good intelligence, says Christine. Yeah, of course they do. What? Is that a question? They're not eating books. That's what Houston's doing.
Not yet.
The Nerd Portal Lifeform says, I was hoping the book would make the reader as obsessed with the story as Ahab was obsessed with the whale. Oh, oh wait. Oh, he was talking about Moby Dick.
That's a good joke. I like that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just seeing what's going on here. Sword. I have 20 lovely claws. Question for the panel. Do you know how many phaser props and types were created for the show? Well, we have the standard phaser, and then we have phaser 2 that we get to see in Devil in the Dark. And
plus the phaser rifle from the second pilot, and of course the original phasers from the Cage.
Yeah. I love the Cage ones. Those are fun.
Yeah.
I like the clear communicators. That was it feels like that was predicting the 90s Hello to the Comic Relief Crusader.
Howdy, howdy.
And
Howdy,
yeah,
howdy.
there's okay. So the Klingon who says "stand and fight, you cowards" is Pete Kellett, who was in Mirror Mirror as Farrell, Kirk's one of Kirk's henchmen. But
Oh.
he's not credited here. And Johnson, he got stabbed in the heart, but he'll be okay. Don't worry about him. Christine
Oh,
Hurt
cool.
says, the intelligence of spies is why the Klingons know human fighting techniques.
But of course.
Mhm. Good point, Christine.
Everybody that gets stabbed in this episode gets healed pretty quickly.
Yeah, they get healed quickly, and not
Mhm.
only that's obviously the effects of the entity who is healing them, but the entity also manipulates the metal in the
Right.
ship so that they cannot free the rest of the crew. And so you know that they're there. So I'm glad they didn't forget to say
Mhm.
where all the 400 people are, or 300 and something. And Mikey Sees4 says, you forgot my first comment. I'm so sorry, but hello, Mikey. I'm so glad to see you here. I think
hey.
I'm too far
Mikey,
gone at
what's
this point to find it now. That is one of the magic of Trek medicine, says Booker 414. No, yeah, McCoy's good, but he's not that good. He's not self-regenerating organs good. Except, oh wait, okay, that's a lie. Star Trek 4. I took a pill and grew a kidney. Sorry, I was wrong. He is magic. Franco Walker says, please subscribe, share, hit the like, and select live chat. Nerdpore Lifeworm says, do you have the name for this entity? I deem it Hateporeal. I will get over myself eventually.
I like that.
Alrighty then.
Mhm. Oh yeah, someone named it Ed earlier, and
Yeah, Eddie
and then someone
Fred.
named it Fred and
and
Ed.
Fred. Yeah, there you go.
Mhm. I don't know.
All kinds of names.
Pinwheel, because I learned how it was made today.
Yeah.
This still actually brings up something important in this episode, where there was a scene where Uhura was getting affected by the entity too, and she was going a little bit ape monkey, if you know what I mean. She was going a little bit like getting a little bit upset, which she never does in previous episodes. She's calm, she's cool, she's
Right.
collected, and for her to go a little bit is very indicative of how well this episode was directed by Mr. Chomsky and written by Mr. Bixby.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it was written really well. I do appreciate that, and how the relationship between Sulu and Chekhov are well amplified in
I do challenge the well written a little bit. I would have changed some
Give
lines,
me.
like Kirk saying, "You're a dead duck."
That one was a little goofy.
That,
yes.
yeah, that's really
But
bad.
I think it might have been goofy on purpose, because Spock said be in good spirits, and maybe he was just trying to change his spirit a bit.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I'm making excuses.
There you go. I like that.
I agree with both of you, and I hate to say that, because I prefer to take one side or the other when it's a debate moment, but the situation is we have a moment of dialogue that is quintessentially, when you say dead duck, quintessentially 20th century, and we are centuries beyond that now. And one of my pet peeves, my bugbears in life, is when we have something that is so now being presented in a story that is 5 centuries from now. And it's just like one of the reasons I tried to be accepting of what Jill refers to as the filth, but I thought, no, disco crap in a show 5 centuries from now, not acceptable. Disco crap is unacceptable 5 centuries from now. And to have dead duck as a dialogue line rankled me even as a kid in the 70s, but it rankles me even more now. Even more. But that's a tiny point in this episode. It's like 1/100th of 1% of what there is to enjoy about this episode. Do you guys know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Right. You don't want to have too much of current dialogue. You don't want to feel like you're watching dialogue from present day when it's supposed to be future dialogue.
But at
So
least
I
no
guess I
one,
do
no
that.
one on the Enterprise is using terms like swell.
Oh,
Well,
There's a Superman
People-
reference there.
yeah.
mhm.
Not very many people are comfortable with using that.
Yeah, that's right.
Delightful. The instantaneous transmutation of matter.
But
Magic.
See, Jill just had Kang saying delightful. At least he didn't say awesome, dude. You know, that would throw me out of the episode completely. So Dead Duck, just going back to that, I understand why that point was made. But overall we can get past it, but it's every time I hear it, it rankles. Every time.
You're a beauty.
With the non-Claymore. Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. Well, we were going to get to it eventually. We already mentioned it.
Scotty likes his big sword. It's got the red tassels on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
I shall remain silent.
What a beauty.
Oh dear.
Oh boy, the chat got excited. I mean, their placement is in direct result of the entity getting into their heads, inflaming their hatred, says Christine. Oh, okay. And they're talking about books. I love the fact that they're talking about literature in the chat. I've never read War and Peace.
Cool.
Yeah. And so there was talk about Moby Dick too, and that's great.
No, he's not right about that.
Sulu
Sulu
only
confirmed. No, Sulu confirmed that he was an only child. That Chekhov was an only child. So it's more than just that he didn't have a brother named.
True.
Yes, that's right. He did say, "I'm an only child."
Yeah.
And so they're taking over. Klingons are taking over engineering as far as the slides go right now. While I'm looking at the chat, checking out to see what you guys have to say. People who love swords really love swords. They know about them all. Those Tiger Stripes.
Well,
And
yes. Yes, but also there's a historical aspect to it, Tiger Stripes. It's just like there's a historical aspect to who says what at what given time, going back to your previous comment, but we'll leave that one alone. Anyway, keep going, Jill.
Speaking of Tiger Stripes,
Tiger Stripes.
Harpo has joined us here. He's in my lap now.
Oh.
My cat Harpo,
awesome.
which is my avatar.
Oh,
that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he has tiger stripes because he's a tiger tabby.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, okay. There's a relation. Thank you. Yeah, Harpo's adorable. I've seen pictures. The intelligence of spies is why the Klingons know human fighting techniques. Okay, so I did read that one before.
I mean, that's
one.
another really interesting part of this episode where you have Kang.
Dudes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, can you even hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you. Yeah, of course. Welcome back, Scotty.
No, but I have to go away.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. Well, I know.
I have business.
I know.
I have business in real life, yo. I'm sorry.
damn.
It's an emergency.
Hey, but how many minutes do you have?
I have enough minutes to review it.
Okay, give me your complete review, anything that we may miss while you were gone, and all of the jokes that you were going to tell.
I'm going to do my best to come back, but seriously, this is, I just got priority 1 from Starfleet Command. So, this is, you know what? I'm going to say this is a C+. What? I really enjoy I'm not a huge fan of this episode. I think I like it better than the guys, the kids who are doing the ice creams.
And the children shall lead.
That's it. Like this is better than that.
Oh my.
but it's
Nice.
not much better. Like this episode, this
Oh, dear.
episode is the children shall lead, and it's like, hey guys, I got a great idea. Let's get rid of the kids. Like this is so I think that this is an incredible episode for Klingons everywhere. But I don't think that this is a great episode. I think one of my favorite
Them's
things about
fighting
it-
words.
Dag
think
nabbit,
what-
Scotty. Oh no,
I think it
Scotty,
is.
no.
I think it is. I
Scotty,
think it is
you deserve
time-
the agony booth.
Ah!
No.
Oh, not that.
Oh, yes, comic book relief crusader. My rage is engaged. Yes.
Yes,
you
but I
know
do
what?
want,
No,
I do want your full review.
Yeah,
what-
let's
what
hear
else
that.
do you
I'm
think?
gonna mute. Go
I
ahead.
think it's an incredible Klingon episode. I think that Michael Ansara is a Klingon who is better without the prosthetics, which is rare for me. I'm always about the prosthetics. I think that the tension of the episode is warranted. I think that it's interesting, but all in all, like I'm McCoy, everyone is so abrasive and out of character, and it's the opposite of something like The Naked Now or The Naked Time, where it's like they are out of character and they have been since the very opening shot. I find it
Yes.
somewhat abrasive, and the only time that I come together with the episode is at the very end.
It's supposed
I
to be
think-
that way. But
Yes, and I think that it is intentionally made. Our minds are being manipulated. I think that this is an abrasive episode, and I think that this incredibly highlights the negatives of racial discrimination, wanton warfare with good guys versus bad guys, as Kirk himself says. But come on. I think it does sort of, it droops. I think it
Damn it.
I think
How?
it droops in the lighting,
It's
in the
so
cinematography, in the fact
It's
that
so
there is
fast-paced.
something on William Shatner's lip that I cannot explain, and I'm pretty sure it's herpes.
Damn it, Scotty.
I don't know. This is one of those ones that I
didn't
want to
notice.
love more than it actually. Well, check out the HD Blu-ray.
well,
buddy.
you would if you would stay, but you got to go. So
I gotta go.
wanted,
You
I
gonna
wanted
go-
to
you gonna
say,
check out the photos.
Franco-
Yeah, no.
Franco
C+.
Walker,
C+.
the Norpura life form says Scotty is receiving a priority 1 distress call, and
True story.
Starpoopa says later, and so does
Thanks.
the Comic Relief Crusader. Oh wait, that's a different one.
And
Scotty, you
everyone
don't like
else-
the message?
Hey,
No, I think yes, racism is bad. What do you want from me? Don't,
it's
don't
a
go
defining
groping.
thing of Star Trek. But anyway,
War bad,
right. You didn't
racism
get
bad.
to talk about that. We didn't even get to that scene. But
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what? Have
I'm
fun,
gonna do my best
Scotty.
to come back. I'm not gonna. You know what? Here's what I'll do. If I can fix the problem properly, then I'll come back. If I don't happen to return the bridge, then I apologize.
but before you
But I
leave,
will
Scotty,
I will leave my comms open.
before you leave, can you just say it was very shocking to see Chekhov do what Chekhov did? Can you agree with that?
Yes, it was very shocking to see what Chekhov did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That was rough, dude. That was rough to see Chekhov do that. You still here or you gone, Scotty?
Yeah, it was
He's gone now.
Oh, dear.
extremely unpleasant. I agree.
So I'm gonna
Well-
bring him to the bottom if he comes back. We'll see.
I mean, to be honest, this is one of the things we talk about with the old series. I won't talk about any of the other series. Is that the old series
I
had
don't-
guts to do things that the later series did not do, and so although I did not like seeing it on the screen, I did enjoy the fact that the show had the courage to make Mr. Koenig do that as Chekhov on the screen, because that's good drama. That is actually good creativity. But there are certain things you don't ever need to see on the screen, and they were very subtle. We actually don't see the hand ripping the fabric. There's a jump cut, and we all know what I mean by a jump cut. So there's a jump cut, and then we see the reaction of Mara when Chekhov has ripped her clothing, and we know what ripping that piece of clothing means is going to happen if somebody does not stop Mr. Chekhov. And so it was very.
I agree completely with that sentiment, and it's not just that one scene that mentions it, because later on Kang notices that the tunic has been ripped, and he's like, I know why you didn't kill her.
Right. And she says, no, I wasn't assaulted. She specifies to him, no, I wasn't assaulted. And we know what that means. We know what that means. So they are addressing it directly.
They are. If you're paying attention, you know what they're talking about. And DJ Play Nice has got to roll out. Have a great rest of the day, Jill. Thank you for hosting. And yes, thank you everybody on the panel who's enjoying this episode and
take care.
And the panel with me and everything. And if we're a little chaotic, it's because we really appreciate the episode. The Nerd Pearl Lifeform says a little something for a great panel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the $2 super chat.
I want my $2.
Well, okay.
No.
Split 6 ways.
I'm sorry, I got off topic with that film reference, but anyway.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were making a quote.
What is
Max
OFD?
Redstone says I must be old. OFD.
Oh, he meant old. I thought that was a youngin term. I didn't understand. Max is good at knowing the youngin terms. I'm not being sarcastic, Max. I don't do that. Is OFD a real term, or was that a typo? Max?
I don't know if that was a typo. I thought it was a typo for old because I don't know. I could be wrong. Could be.
Oh, with Max, you never know. That's what I love about Max. He's going to keep you on your toes.
Yeah,
Max will keep you.
Wes Cagle got it.
Wes Cagle got it. I want my $2.
Okay.
Is a Better Off Dead reference.
Right. Wes Cagle gets the $2.
And welcome to Space Jockey. He says the events of this episode are exactly what is happening in today's world, divided here by race and set to war to feed on an entity that wants power. I cite it often, and you know what? You're absolutely right, and it's such an ugly thing that is perpetrated in terms of trying to divide us when that's not our actual nature.
Or worse yet, Jill, dividing us when we're having a chance to have friendship. You know what I mean? By the time we get to this end of this episode, you're looking at Kang and Kirk going, under different times and different situations, you guys could have been pals. You could have been pals. It's something to consider.
And definitely you've got McCoy here. He's got he's showing racism. He's really great. He's really great at showing his rabid racism. Bigotry. He does it.
Hey, Melted Copper, good to see you. But this is another aspect of, what you're showing right here is one of my favorite moments of this episode and in Trek entirely, where they are letting DeForest Kelley go for it. He's completely going for it. And he is doing things with his face that he barely did any time else in his career. He's got this little lip twitch at the end of it that is so messed up. It just looks so psycho. I hate to use that term. It's fantastic. And he was stunning in this. And he's passionate about things, and he's worried. When we get to the part where he's explaining that people are being healed from mortal wounds, that is a very deep part of both the plot, but also the theme of the episode. And plot and theme are separate. They need to walk hand in hand, but they are not related. And with what he was able to portray in this episode, DeForest Kelley earns as much respect for me in this as Michael Ansara does.
Well,
He
definitely
really
even
does.
better than, well, because it's really wrenching to see your favorite Star Trek characters not behave like Starfleet officers
Right.
and portray this kind of this prejudice. But what's better is when they realize what's happening to them and they realize they're being manipulated and they're like, I apologize for that.
Yes,
That
he
was not
apologized to
good."
Spock. He apologized. Good point, Jill. Yes.
And Spock said, I had a moment of racial bigotry too, and
Yep.
it was most distasteful.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say goodbye to Max Redstone. He says, I must be off. In my opinion, doves are dumbasses.
Well, Max he's never been the most peaceful guy on the planet.
Because
So that's
Max
understandable.
Redstone is a big fan of Saturday Night Star Trek, and so
Yes,
that's
he
been a
is.
theme for the past couple episodes because they've been reviewing the Year of Hell, and of course, the Year of Hell has the actor from that '70s show, and of course, who the dad Red, who says you're a dumbass, and that's the joke. I can't believe racism has nothing to do with NASCAR, says Melted Copper. Oh, okay, good information. Christine Hurt says, I mean, I think it does. Racing and competing is often done from a place of fear and losing. Kurtwood Smith, thank you, Max Redstone. I forgot his name for a
Kurtwood is
minute.
great, but Max, Kurtwood was better in RoboCop, and I'm right. I'm right.
I loved watching RoboCop because there is a quote in RoboCop where he says something about somebody's ass. So it's like, yeah, he's like, he's kicking ass, whether he's on the sitcom or the movies.
Correct.
And this is where King takes control of the ship. So I have
Now control the ship's power and life support system. It is apparently capable of manipulating matter and mind.
Jill, you have to admit that Ansara's voice is so commanding and powerful, it will make your bones go to ice when he's saying something menacing.
Yeah, definitely. That's why part of what makes the original series really great is when they have really great guest stars. And this is one of them. And I don't know, like if you had a worse king, maybe we wouldn't love this episode as much. And so he's really wonderful. You have to have somebody who can stand up with Kirk. And sometimes that's not as easy to do. And so he does it.
Jill, he stands over Kirk. Ansara is a very tall actor. He stands over Kirk.
Fair enough.
Don't take her literally.
Yeah.
He's like a giant.
So is
Find their illogic and foolish emotions a constant irritant.
Oh no, it's got Spock.
That was great, Jill. Thank you. Oh dear. Oh my.
Well, yeah. And it's hard seeing everybody do this, but when Spock does it, it hurts a little more.
It's creepy.
Oh, it is. It is creepy. That's it. That's the word for it.
Well, since we're talking about creepy, can I bring something else up about the creature?
Oh, for sure, definitely. But Booger says, you mean Federation President Red Borman? Yes, he's Kurtwood Smith
nice one,
is also
Booger.
Federation President in Star Trek 6.
Yes, good point. Very good point.
Yes, you can say something about that.
Something that makes the creature more menacing to me, both as a child and an adult, is that it doesn't speak. It doesn't make a noise. It doesn't make a vocal noise or communication noise. It has a noise associated with it. And it is very much show, don't tell. And it's very clear that it is actually very intelligent and cunning, because at one point in the episode, it takes over the engines of the Enterprise. So it clearly understands technology to some point. And at other points, it sits there and watches Kirk and Mara confronting it. The first time Kirk confronts it, and Kirk being good Kirk, he actually asks, "What are you?" What do you want? And it doesn't answer. It just observes.
Well,
sits-
and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we haven't even talked about, did we mention the fact that this creature is taking everybody outside of the galaxy? Oh, I think Scotty did mention it when he was talking about the Q.
Yep.
So it
Yeah.
at least has been mentioned. Not only that, but he also knows how the she entity knows how to deal with the life support system. So it knows how to deal with a lot of the Enterprise systems, I guess. I'm just guessing it read all the manuals just like Han.
But it's interesting that it doesn't talk, and yet it's intelligent enough to do this, which makes it more alien, Jill. And a scary alien is more scary when it's more alien to us. You know
And
what
it
I
is,
mean?
it's extreme, but my only problem with it is that it's the same problem I have with "And the Children Shall Lead." It's the problem of that the power of the alien's ability is not really consistent. I'm not quite sure when his influence is being, like, it's obvious when the Enterprise crew are being affected by the entity, but Klingons, I'm not so sure, because I don't get to see them every week.
True.
So I would have liked a bit of an indication of what when something was happening there. And
I would agree with that. I would agree with that 100%. Somebody else speak, please.
And so there was a thing in the book. It says the United States was in the this is from the Mark Cushman book. It says the United States was in the thick of the Vietnam War when this episode was written and produced. Much of America was divided between the Hawks and the Doves. Slogans like "Make love, not war," and "Stop the war now" were being shouted at police lines and TV news camera crews and spray painted on protest signs and on buildings and walls. And then Jerome Bixby painted a sign of his own with a captain's log entry. So, yeah, there you go.
I agree with that. I just have to go back to one point about the creature, which makes it more scary for a kid or a young adult, where when Kirk and Mara are confronting it, and it is just we know it can just go through the wall in a second, but it stays there watching them. It's observing them. And that is what an intelligent parasite would do, to learn what the food animals, which are the people on the Enterprise, both Klingons and humans, would learn about their plans and intentions, because they're talking about them at that moment in the scene. And there's no way that we have seen up until this point for Kirk, Spock, O'Mara, or anyone else to physically harm this creature. So it is subtle foreshadowing for the end scene in my mind, and beautiful writing.
Right. And you know what? That's a great point, because they do talk to the creature at the end, and their whole thing throughout the episode, Kirk even says, "I want to know how to communicate with it," even though we don't actually get the creature speaking, as you say, and so we don't actually have back and forth communication. There is plenty of hints dropped throughout that the creature is intelligent and that it could speak to us if it wanted to.
It's intelligent and very sensitive and gets hurt when it's laughed at.
Oh, yeah, very good point. Well, I wanted to mention this scene where Scotty goes bananas and he's trying to beat up Spock and okay, so I don't know. And so Kirk's like, "What's happening to us? We've been trained to fight its causes if necessary. Then why are we behaving like a group of savages? Look at me. 2 forces aboard this ship, each of them equally armed. Has a war been staged for us, complete with weapons and ideology and patriotic drum beating?" And so that's your real world connection there for this episode. But of this episode, James Doohan rather says, "We were probably having a little too much fun on that. Marvin Chomsky was the director. Marvin was enjoyable, and that may have contributed to it. I won't blame him, but I'm sure he contributed to the good mood on the set." And that was a difficult time for the series well into the 3rd year. If we had any doubts about the continuing quality of the series, they were being confirmed by then, with Gene Roddenberry missing and Paramount in charge, which meant less money and this strictly enforced rule about never going into overtime. So when we got the chance to let loose, we did. It was a pretty wild concept, and I suppose We were getting caught up in the moment. But a lot of people like that episode. And you know what? Getting caught up in the moment, this live stream is a bit like that too. So that makes sense.
Well, more so before Scotty left, but yes, I completely agree, Jill.
James, in the Cushman book, James Doohan has a dig against Shatner's acting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does he say?
Well, basically, I'm sure Jill could read it, but
well, I could, but I just skipped over that part.
Oh, you skipped it.
What is he
Okay.
talking about here? I don't agree with this. I'm gonna skip it.
Okay, then.
But you can talk about it. No,
okay.
please do.
He basically says that
Fine.
he agrees that they went a little over the top, and he says the rest of us were getting to the level of what Shatner does normally, is basically what he was saying.
Wow.
And I'm like, no.
Interesting.
It's like you want someone cutting the ham in thick slices. I present to you all Jonathan Harris as Dr. Zachary Smith on Lost in Space.
Oh, damn.
Oh no, Stone! No, say it ain't true. I didn't know. We both love that show. We both watched it as kids. I know what you're talking.
Silence. This is Sulu in the Jeffries tube. Everyone.
Okay. Now, don't tell me to be silent, but yes, we need to be silent.
No, I'm just being silly.
Well,
no, seriously. But this is a great visual moment as well as an acting moment from Mr. George. And this was a very important moment in the episode. So please go on, sir. Please go on.
Oh, I was just saying that this is a first for Sulu, and a great moment for him, because he deserved a lot of more episodes centered around him, or at least
that was great. I agree
role.
Completely, Stone Racket, and all it took was for Captain Kirk to say, "Hey, Sulu, go check this out," and he did, and it's lovely to see. And I agree completely that it is a good thing. And this is the part of the episode where the entity is saying, "No, you can't turn off the life support. That's cheating. I want you guys to fight forever." So life support is restored, and so the entity is smart enough to be able to turn that back on. And so Sue was like, "I didn't do anything, but the life support's back on."
Yeah, but I mean, just look at it. Just look at that slide you just showed, Jill. I mean, it is such a beautiful design, and the camera shot of it, the camera looking down upon Mr. Takei, is it's magnificent. I mean, you look at how all the perspective of all the mechanics are leading down to his head, which means when he looks up at this moment, we're really focused on his face, but we're taking into account the technology of the ship. It's a beautiful moment in visual science fiction.
And Christine Hart says, it's a great actor when another person has to point out the actor played other characters to you on your first watch through.
Yep.
The more you explain the alien, the less it is like the Predator got dumb when the new one made some weird global warming. What? I don't understand what.
I think he's talking to about the Predator movies.
The global warming tale? I don't know. Oh, the new Predator movies. Okay, that's why I'm confused, because I haven't seen the new Predator movie, so I don't know what the Predator has to do with global warming.
Don't waste your time.
Okay. Christine Hurt says, I guess I thought since it's an energy entity, it was just hanging around, absorbing energy put out by the human's anger.
Yeah, a bit more complex, but yes.
You're right.
Yes, essentially that's how it is surviving. And
that's how it builds up. Yep.
Sulu in a tube.
Oh my. Precisely.
I find there is.
I don't want to do that one again.
Then why are we behaving like a group of savages?
I love that. Pure Shatner.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I don't know, because they are overreacting. Everyone's overreacting. I didn't get a clip of Uhura, but she was frantic. She was like me when I lose my keys.
Yes.
I had them there, but they're not there. What is going on?
But see, that's the part of having a script written by someone who was working in the 1940s, like 20 years before he was hired to write this script in pulp good science fiction. He's not gonna dumb it down for the audience. He's going to assume as a writer that you're going to catch up with the script. And that's what I love about this episode. It is assumed we are going to catch up with how smart the script is. I love it.
Yeah. And yeah, it is smart because we don't like to see our Star Trek characters in this way, but they are this way because of that entity. And it is weird to see them behaving like we do today, but that's just because the entity wants it that way. And I do like what Krang says here.
Power is it that supports our battle yet starves our victory.
Indeed.
So he's got, so now there was no mystery in this episode, really. Like we've known for a while what's going on, but Kang finally knows. He's caught up with us. And that's fun.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
I love it. It's a good little critter. It really is. Oh no, I shouldn't say good little critter. It is an enjoyable little critter for all seasons.
Yeah.
That's the other magic of Star Trek. Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know if it's doing this out of malevolence or survival. It could just it has to survive. So it has
well,
to
I mean, we don't when we get to the planet, Jill, when we get to the planet, the cold open of the episode, right? We don't know how long that sucker's been on that planet. It could have been there for 1,000 years. It could have been like a Gila monster storing fat in its tail just to survive a hard winter. We don't know how much it needs to eat, but we know it's doing the wrong thing to these people we care about, and we need to care about them first. And that is the challenge of good science fiction, as you know, because you've talked about this on Clawby's show. You know, it makes you question your own ethical evaluations.
Oh no, it's that moment. I shall avert my eyes.
It is that moment.
But you're very beautiful.
Yeah, so then he rips her tunic, he covers her mouth. So I think that was interesting that he covered her mouth. And just it you have to imagine what he's thinking, and so
no, Jill, we don't, because some of us well, you're a little bit younger than some of us, and some of us have watched a lot of older movies in this, and yeah, but we're not going to say it because of YouTube,
I know
right?
No, yeah, right. That's why I'm saying you have to imagine, because I'm not saying we don't know. We know his intentions.
We also know why he's putting his hand over her mouth, because she's going to scream and he doesn't want her to for reasons we cannot mention. That's the reason I'm talking about. And that is an old trope in both television shows, but also movies going back to the 1930s. That's why the man covers the woman's mouth, because he doesn't want other people coming to their rescue, Jill.
Oh, that is really dark. Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry it's dark, but it's accurate.
No,
and it's
but
part
it's
of Hollywood
true. Okay,
history.
that does explain. Okay.
I would have liked this sequence more if Mara had taken care of Chekhov herself.
That, and then while she's taking care of him, he apologizes.
Yep.
That would have been really wonderful. That would have been a fantastic character.
Yeah, after she kind of knocks some sense into him, to put it literally there, yeah, where he kind of snaps out of it for a little bit and then immediately apologizes. Yeah, I like that.
That would be perfect. Definitely. And so that's that scene.
Is this what's in store for us from here on in?
Just
See,
beat up each other.
That is a beautiful moment of Star Trek, because even though, I mean, Kirk knows that Chekhov has been doing this not under his own aegis, okay? And he's picking him up like a dad picking up a wounded son and carrying him away. That is such a beautiful moment in this episode and the series in general.
Yes, and Jim, did you have something to add?
I did. I forgot. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry, dude. I'm talking too much.
Dude.
I apologize.
It's all right.
But
I'm learning a lot of stuff.
But that was I totally agree with that. Your assessment there, Hungry. It is a highlight in the series.
I think so too. It's a very good drama moment. Is that what's in store from us from here on in? Violence, hatred. Like he feels like he's stuck in this endless cycle
Well
of
said.
violence.
Well said, Jill. And look at the pain on Kirk's face here, provided by the magnificent Shatner. That is a lot. Go ahead, Jill. Sorry.
Back in the earlier private chat, you said, and we have to talk about Kirk's messy hair. So I think this is a moment for you to pick that up if you wanted to talk about that.
Well, I mean, sometimes when you're doing Stone will know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you do little simple things to try to let the audience subconsciously know, not consciously know what's going on. So the fact that this is so emotionally and psychologically messy, and dare I say even telepathically messy because of what the alien creature is doing, it is very easy to just keep Kirk's hair messed up because his life at this moment for 24 hours is so messed up. And that is good screencraft. That is good television. That is good movie making. It's so simple, but it carries so much weight. And I bet most people didn't notice how much Kirk's hair was messed up in this episode versus every other episode in the original series.
I did notice. I did notice, but I don't mind was at least it's clean.
Yeah.
At least it's clean. Yes, it's not greasy and nasty. I get you. But Stone, you recognized it, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I totally agree with your assessment. It's exactly what they were thinking when they produced this.
What? Yes,
Excuse me?
agree. No. I was responding to Herc. Then why are we
I'm sorry.
acting like a group of sausages? I don't know.
Well, we can't really respond to that openly on YouTube, Herc, but I thank you for your comment. I want to respond, but I cannot.
And Christine Hurt says, I love the way that actors give themselves over to the story.
Yes.
It's not easy to portray anger that realistically if you're not fully committed.
Yes.
Absolutely. The mystery is when the crew figures out the situation and how to put a stop to it.
Well,
that's this almost this moment. We're almost there.
Christine's comments just right here. Scotty R37 needs to be here and absorb them.
Hey, hold on. Okay. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to move right back to the comment that Christine made about letting yourself be taken over by the character.
Of course I want Scotty R37 here.
We all do. But I mean, the thing that I really love here is that this is one of the episodes where DeForest Kelley playing McCoy, generally McCoy is the voice of overly ethical reason in this show.
Yep.
And here he gets to do things that are completely against character, completely, and go ape bullpucky. I'm not going to use the proper term. You know the term I want to use, but I can't. But he's going
Infinity.
Hello, Captain Infinity.
And then he's not here.
But McCoy has moments of sublime sanity here, and then sublime madness. And he gets to chew the scenery like a Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park. And it is beautiful to behold. It is wonderful. And, it just makes me love DeForest Kelley so much. And, I mean, I loved him before this episode.
It is important to remember before Star Trek, he was primarily a villain. He was cast in lots of villain roles in his Western series.
Yes, it was.
Cam says,
Cam, no.
I don't make it back. Thanks for a great show, everyone on the panel and in the chat. Have fun. I gave this episode an A. Thank you, Cam.
Have a lovely evening, Cam. Have a lovely evening.
I gave it an A as well.
Wonderful.
Of course, that big surprise there.
Yeah, we're getting close. So let's see. If we
before we reach the end, because we're getting to the end, we've hit the portion of this episode where I think we have to address the ticking clock mechanism of the script, meaning the dilithium crystals running out and the fact that they're being
Yes.
taken outside
Yep.
of the galaxy where they're going to be alone in what is referred to often as dead space.
Right, the space between the galaxies.
Yes. Yes. You know what I mean, Jill. So
Mhm,
do you want to
of
talk
course.
about that a bit, or should I go on, or
You can
go first?
You
Well-
can go first. What is your thoughts on that?
Well,
What
I
are?
mean, the thing that's interesting is first we have the title of the series, Day of the Dove, and which is often attributed to being Old Testament and biblical and also New Testament. But we also have the name Mara, which is also biblical. But now we've got this situation that they are facing, the crew, both crews, not just the Federation crew, but also the Klingons. It is very similar to Purgatory, where it has been established that they realize the creature is going to keep them alive forever and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay,
just
that is creepy as hell.
That's
That
I
is
know.
that turns that now I know why you're on this panel, because they have literally turned the Starship Enterprise into hell, and you're here for that.
Well, we both love Event Horizon, Jill. What can we say?
Okay, well, I'm glad we finally got to the crux of your appearance here, and that.
Hey, come on, but you've thanked me for other things I've said before. You
No,
naughty
I
little
know,
Jill.
but this is good.
You
This
naughty.
is good.
But
This is good stuff. Oh,
somebody else talk.
I heard an echo. I was wondering. Okay,
No,
so
I-
yeah, I was wondering why the hell does this creature want
Dog.
to send them into the middle of the galaxy? I don't know. So now I know, and I'm happy.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're looking at what the creature is doing and you're looking at what later in the episode it starts doing, it all suddenly starts making awful, malevolent, infernal sense.
Well, yeah,
Infernal sense.
malevolent. I don't know. Well, is it malevolent, or does it have to? Does it feel like it has to trap the crew for its own purposes?
I had that in my notes, Jill.
I guess that. Okay.
They're all healing
No.
at a fantastic rate.
Because it's healing them.
It subsists on the emotions of others.
Mm-hmm.
I had a
Right.
question for the entire panel before I knew who would be the entire panel. So, all right. If the alien needs to keep them alive, is it merely a parasite or is it a malevolent symbiote? Which is a scientific question to ask. Is it a symbiote or is it a parasite? Because if it's a parasite, it's malevolent. But if it, in its own intelligence, if it, in its own framework, thinks, but I'm keeping you alive forever, and your species, assuming it has encountered any hominid species beforehand, is terrified of death, which we all are, I'm keeping you alive for 1,000 years, does it perceive what it's doing as a mutual benefit? They keep him alive, he keeps or she keeps them alive. We don't know. And that's good science fiction.
Yep.
And that is a great question. The episode does not give us any sort of hint as to its nature or its
No, we don't.
Motivations.
motivations.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. But
Yeah.
it's a great question. I don't know.
It
I
is
don't know.
some great, very
And
excellent observations, Hungry.
it
Thank
is.
you,
It
sir.
is an
Thank you.
excellent observation.
Yeah,
and as
the purgatory parallel. I hadn't thought of that. That's excellent.
me neither.
Thank
And
you.
as it is Star Trek, I wouldn't be surprised if it thought that this was mutually beneficial and didn't realize it was being evil. And so we just didn't get to the point where we got to talk to it. And then it's like, oh, you guys don't like this? I thought you would love to live forever. Okay, I'll go find somebody who wants to live in eternal war.
Huh.
Not me.
And, I mean, also the other point is, and I have to bring this up, and I'm a detail-oriented guy, as Jill knows. Even though the writers didn't know what a real claymore was, they knew that Scottish people like claymores, otherwise known as clayhimers, to use the actual Gaelic. It created a Scottish clayhimer for Scotty. So it has had some form of interaction with these people before, or it's able to get in touch with our subconscious. So it is, in a way, in touch with our desires. And that makes the question much deeper. And maybe it's just not capable of emotional understanding and limited to intellectual understanding, which is a very big point in sci-fi going from the 1930s up into the 1970s. You know, and that makes it a much deeper episode for me, Jill. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely, because that means that this entity has this isn't the first time it's encountered mortal beings or whatever you want to say they are. And so that it has an idea. We don't know what it knows coming into this, but it knows something. It's not stupid. So that is good. That is good science fiction. I do appreciate a monster that isn't just there for destruction.
Oh, you mean like the Horta?
Exactly, like the Horta. The Horta. It seems like the Horta is just there for destruction until you find out it's a mommy protecting her babies.
That's an in-joke between Jill and I, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we became friends, because we were talking about the Horta, going, "Oh my God, the Horta's the hero of the story." You know,
the Horta is intelligent and peaceful.
Yes.
She had no objection sharing this planet with you, and still you started killing her children.
Precisely.
And she's the only starlet the whole episode. There's no other woman in the episode. So she's front and center.
And also, she had the best motivations out of everybody in the episode. The best motivations. She's a mama protecting her children and protecting the sanctity of the planet. Both. She is a fantastic woman, the Horta. I admire the Horta.
I admire the Horta, but I don't know what Spock thinks.
Most distasteful.
Still nice.
Of course, he's talking about his prior reactions to humans when he.
Now the thing is, did the Horta really like pointed ears, or was Spock kind of,
well,
kind of coloring the situation?
Oh, that's right. He did appreciate the fact that the Horta likes his ears, and that the Horta has good taste.
Yeah, I wonder about that though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think the pointed ears are pretty sexy. I've seen a couple of Romulan chicks walking around conventions, and I don't think there's any problem with the pointed ears.
They're great.
I agree.
And there's Johnson. Let's see. Oh, what's the chat doing? There's a few chats now.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. Cam had to go. I think we said goodbye to him already. You played the clip where Kirk says, "Then why are we acting like a group of savages?" But it took so long to get to reading the chat. The moment was long gone. Yeah, no. It made sense to me because I knew what you were referencing. It's just like, why sausages? I don't know. And nobody answered, so I'm still curious. So then Herc 130
No clue.
CSC4. Okay. Fair enough. Even worse is what might happen when the alien tires of them and decides to find sustenance on a new group of victims. Exactly. So the episode completely ends with wondering what the hell happens afterwards and who it victimizes later. We don't know. And they don't tell us that Starfleet is going to check up on this.
Well, actually, Jill, because in the Star Trek show, the 735 Club with 735 Club with Clobby, you bring up plot inconsistencies all the time. So I'll bring up my only problem with this episode. It's my only problem. Sure. At the beginning of the episode, the entity appears to need the transporter to get it on the Enterprise. But now they're in deep space at the end and the entity runs out. How's it going to get back anywhere? If it needs a transporter beam to get it anywhere, then is it not going to just die in deep space?
That's a good
I don't
question.
think it needs the transporter because
I don't think it needs it either. It may have just been a matter of convenience.
Oh, okay. So it's like, all right, I could walk this far, but I'm gonna, jump in the taxi with my pal. Is that what you're saying?
that's what my interpretation is.
Okay, I accept that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But it is pure energy, so I do believe it possibly can survive in space.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Miles says, "I'm shocked at the poll results. This was more of the more underwhelming episodes for me, all because of that cheesy ending."
It was not cheesy. No,
I mean, in my opinion, cheesy is just a derogatory term for moral lesson. And Mr. Miles says I should edit the ending so it plays the power of love.
Oh,
No,
Mr.
wait a minute. It's
Miles.
the power of
Well,
cooperation, nonviolence.
should
Yeah.
I?
Oh, yeah, it is. You're right, but
Is
I like.
is this a good time for me to discuss the deleted ending?
Oh, please do. I did not know there was a deleted ending.
I don't know either.
Yeah, there's
Please continue.
a deleted ending that was filmed, but it was cut for time, which is once I go over this, I think you'll agree with me that they should not have cut this at all. They should have cut elsewhere. But this is from the Mark Cushman book. These are the voyages for season 3 of Star Trek. The deleted scene, it was a tag scene. Kang and Mara are present on the bridge as Kirk instructs Sulu to set a course for a neutral planet near the Klingon Federation border. And Kirk addresses Kang, "You'll be dropped off there. No war this time." And Kang says, "Why do you humans revere peace? It is the weakling's way. There is a galaxy to be taken with its riches." And Spock interjects with, "Two animals may fight over a bone, Kang, or they can pool their abilities, hunt together more efficiently, and share justly. Curiously, it works out about the same." Kang,
I am appalled that that has been cut.
Kang, okay, please let me continue.
Oh, sorry.
Kang says one animal must trust the other. Kirk, agreed. Cooperate or fight uselessly for all eternity. A universal rule you Klingons had better learn. We did. And then we fade out on Kang's thoughtful face. And Mark Cushman considers this the true message of Day of the Dove, and it was left on the cutting room floor.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. That dialogue is wonderful. I also wish it hadn't been cut. And that might have helped Mr. Miles, who says the ending is cheesy. And so, well, but of course, Christine Hurt says, "I love cheese and corn." Me too. And so I don't mind that it's cheesy and corny, but what you just read, way better.
And also Stone, I mean, I'm sorry I interjected, but there was a pregnant pause, and I think you were reading from the script, and that's why I interjected, and I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
But the thing is, what you just read, I've done storyboards and comic books, so I know exactly how that would be shot in accordance with the other scenes that we have seen in this episode, and it would have been so much better. Is there any, I mean, was it honestly just cut for time?
It was cut for time, and the thing is, it was, I would say, a lazy way of doing it, where they just go, where can we trim here or there? Oh, we'll just cut the tag. And it's like, it's just,
that really hurts me.
Yeah, when I read that, I just said, oh, no, that's crucial. That has to remain in there.
And it feeds back to the other lines in the script.
Yeah.
Oh!
Okay, check
Producers, I tell you.
Of war, Captain.
Oh, no, I was in such a good mood until you shared that with me, Stone.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But, you know, if wishes were fishes, we'd all cast our nets, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Oh, shut up. Your rhythmic rhymes won't persuade me to the square root of Jack Squat.
He has returned.
Hey, welcome back. I'm so happy.
Yeah,
So
and
that
by
was
the way,
oh wow, that's
solved-
really Scotty. That's really Scotty. You're really
solved
back.
Nothing. I did
But
my
you
best,
tried.
and I was scorned by the people, and they were like, "So you did nothing," and I was like, "True."
But did you try?
I
You tried,
did, but
you tried. You did all you could.
Well, if wishes were horses,
No. You bitch. I love you, but you bitch. Come on.
you
was
just
it a? You don't have to tell me the details, but was it a technical issue?
2 people died.
Oh no.
Okay, never mind. He's
No, it's
not
fine.
telling
I
me.
didn't like them.
Hey,
He's not telling
Scotty.
me. It's fine. You don't have to tell us what really happened.
No, it's
I was just
fine.
curious. I'm always overly curious about things I shouldn't be curious about.
I brought lightning from the sky, Jill.
Oh no, Scotty, shut up.
I will.
You just got back and I'm telling you to shut up.
Yeah, I know. It's my favorite part.
Let's talk about this.
Intra-ship beaming.
That's
That's
crazy cool. Is this the first
That was
time that
interesting.
intra-ship beaming has been introduced in
Yes,
the
it was.
original series?
Yeah.
This is
Another
dope.
first.
First time.
Yeah. And they did it magnificently.
Yes, they did. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not in the same way. Like, and I recently just watched the Schizoid Man from the Next Generation season 2, and they were talking about near warp beaming. And so there is a moment where Troy says, as intra warp beaming happens, and she's like, for a moment there, I swore I was in that wall. And somebody says, because you were. And so I like that this is something that is, it's commonplace in Next Generation, but in the original series, it was like, can we do this? And it's like, oh, it's gonna be tricky.
It's the only time in the original series you get to see it, and that danger is there. If that you could get stuck inside a wall or a desk or an object.
So
But we're also dealing in a situation here where everybody's
hungry?
phasers turn into swords.
Hungry? What was Scotty? What did he have in his right hand there?
Sword.
Oh, not Scotty. Hungry. Pardon me.
You
It's a
talking about
sword.
not the claymore?
What do they call
Yeah,
it?
the not claymore. Sorry.
I thought it was a claymore. He
I
never
guess-
said specifically it's a claymore.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yes, he does.
He does.
Oh,
Yes, he does. He
Hungry's
does.
back.
Yeah, no. Sorry, I was letting you guys talk, and also I had to turn off all the lights because now dawn has ended where I am.
Whoa.
But yeah, no, I started this at 5 a.m., guys.
Oh dear.
The thing is,
sorry.
he does very directly refer to it as a claymore, and a real claymore is a two-handed sword. It has actually been used to cut off the legs of equine animals. And so that's why I have a problem with the claymore.
Why
but
can't you say horses? Just say horses.
it's YouTube. That's why. But
You can't say horses on YouTube, you pussy?
not when you're talking about cutting off legs. You can't. No.
I think you're being a little timid, my friend.
I am being very timid. I am proud of my timidity. But this, this is, if we're going to talk about swords, the thing is that is one of the
I think
the only
being
things I
very,
gotta
very timid, too timid.
I will agree, but I'm going to do it. The thing is that the swords thing was one of my only problems with it. And you have your nitpicky problem, so I'm just bringing up a nitpicky problem to see if you and Stone agree or disagree, because that is part of an entertaining episode of a YouTube channel. Now, do you guys agree that they were a little bit too cheap on the swords, or do you guys both disagree that they were a little too cheap on the swords, because swords were a massive part of this episode? All the fights were basically with sword fights.
Stone Racket, what do you think?
I think with the third season overall, because Paramount taking over.
We're talking about the sword specifically.
Yes, let me finish, please.
Please.
With Paramount taking over, buying out Desilu, they cut the budget, and they just, they can only work with what they have, and so I guess you could say they were lazy with the type of swords, or they just went with whatever was on hand that could be cheaply obtained. So it's simply the budget.
Disagree.
You disagree that Paramount
Scotty disagrees
that Paramount cut the budget?
Stone.
No, I don't disagree with that. Not at all.
Well,
but what I
then,
do disagree with is in terms of the representation of the swords.
Right.
There are moments early on in the episode where like Kirk is bending the steel. Like he is, and I think that there are moments when I'm watching this episode and I'm getting very much metal swords. And then when they go into the fights, they turn into wood swords.
Yes.
But in the early, to sell it, like the hero props, as we have come to know them as being a modern audience who understands, like I think that they do a good job of selling them before they start hacking at each other.
Mm-hmm. I agree with both of you. Oh, you were going to say, Jill, please.
So, yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that as well. The assessment, maybe a little bit, but why not? I mean, it is the third season, and so that is the excuse. The budget is cut. And I don't know.
You don't think
the
Paramount has
swords don't bother me.
sitting around?
Yeah, exactly. So they use what they got. Even if this were season 2, they probably would use what they have, and so that makes sense.
I know, Joe, but we were talking about script before and the screenplay. And if the creature can create anything, the swords would have been better, darling. I promise you. The swords would have been better. And we're at a point here where the budget actually did show. And it was not just the visual of the swords. There are times where, because I've made a couple of short films and I understand Foley, and Stone knows what I mean when I'm talking about Foley, as well as I'm not talking about Mr. Foley from Kids in the Hall. I love Mr. Foley. Don't get me wrong. I love Mr. Foley from Kids in the Hall.
Yo.
Yeah, Dave. But the situation is there were times in the sword fights in the hallways where you have 3 Foley sounds for each 9 times the swords are connecting to each other. And no, I do love my sword fights, but at least have every sword connecting having a Foley sound. It's just simple math.
Yeah. Well, and when we do get to the final fight between Kirk and Kang, like it does sound, even in the remaster, it sounds like wood. It's like, oh, 2 children have bats.
Yes. But you both, I mean, now we're all agreeing. I mean, Stone and Scotty, you understand where there is a certain limit to how much you can cheap out on before it takes you out of the moment, you know, when you're watching.
I was looking at some of the Klingon people.
Sword fighting itself
like,
takes me out of it than the swords.
Yeah, Jill.
Yeah.
Jill. Oh, that's great. But but Jill, see, again, that goes back to the script. If you limit things to the sword fighting, then the creature can limit the amount of times that they die. So it's limiting the amount of times it's using its own energy to keep itself alive, and then can keep itself alive from the further negative emotions that are created later. It's brilliant screenwriting. It's just that the physical effects did not live up to it. That's all I'm saying.
I can totally subscribe to your perspective.
Thank you.
I disagree.
Now, if Jill disagrees, I want to hear her disagree. But sorry, Scotty.
Let's hear Jill.
Well, I was just going to read from Darius. Darius says, totally wholesome and safe for YouTube, straight from the Bible. For she lusted for her paramours, whose flesh is like the flesh of donkeys, and whose issue is like the issue of horses.
Go back one. Didn't you go back one slide?
Sure. This one?
Just go back. No, that one. Not that one. Back one. Back.
Oh, look at the shoulders. Oh.
Back one more.
What?
Oh, fake Spock! Stunt Spock! That was great.
Yeah,
it's the
was
one.
Stunt Spock.
It's the one where Kang and Kirk are punching or like
yes.
hugging.
They're hugging. Oh, the hugging one. Okay.
The hugging one.
Yeah.
I don't think we got to the hugging yet.
No, I saw them hug.
You saw it? You saw the hug?
And I was so happy
didn't see
because
the
I
hug.
think it's going to be my new Tinder profile. Maybe even Grindr.
Oh boy, Scotty.
Whatever. I just want to have the, love.
I can send you the hug.
And that's
but
what
they're
this
not
episode
exactly
is
hugging.
about.
They were just fighting and they're just close.
This is such a serious episode, and Scotty just brings us here. I love it.
This is an episode about love. You know what?
Yes,
if we
it is.
do away with our animosities and whatnot.
Okay, Scotty,
Sorry.
since you're back, and we're jumping all around here, What did you think about that massive slap on the back to Shatner that Ansara gave him at the end?
I absolutely enjoy it. I love it because I do not think that it was an animosity. I think that it was. I think that was Kang, that was Klingon, and it's like, well, as long as we are enjoying Rebels.
Well, here's a question for you,
and
and
the
also,
back, and then Kirk was like, "Wait a second, you."
That's a great slap. I think it's wonderful. It was much harder than was necessary.
Yeah, but Klingons are stronger than
Yeah, that's the Klingon way.
Yes,
it is.
So
But this is
Mr. Miles says the sword fights look cheap because of the longer shots. If you broke
True.
it down to 1 to 3 seconds before jumping to another camera angle, it would look better.
Oh, I
You
hate
can also-
fast cutting though. I hate
Yeah, me
fast
too.
cutting.
Mr. Miles also says you can use speed ramp tricks to make the sword fights look better.
True.
None of these tricks were a thing in this era.
Good point.
And he says he would like to join the panel to talk about it one of these days. Yeah, one of these days, if you have a good internet connection and a microphone, that's all you need. If you have something
and you
to say
can't
about
jump in
something.
at the end. You can't jump in. Well, I don't know. It's up to you, Jill.
I mean,
It's your,
I
it's your
don't have
channel.
his social media information. I don't know how to send him a message.
I think that
Are you here, Mr. Miles?
I do think that there is a certain thing about when people talk about making something for a modern audience. I think that they are specifically speaking of faster cuts. I don't know your age, young man, but I'm just saying that the faster cuts, yeah, you can have them. You can have them if you do well. I think that this particular sword fight between red shirts and Klingons is adorable. I think that it is engaging.
It's very Robin Hood.
Yeah,
For sure.
Worse.
Well, the actors, Snortapoopa says the actors didn't really know how to stage fight properly. It's an art to make it look good while not slicing the other actor like a bratwurst. And I think I read, there's
Yes, he's right. He's right, because actually to make it look properly with the actors who don't know how to do it properly, you have to pay someone to choreograph the fight. And that's an extra budgetary concern. And that's why I don't care about the actual fights. I care about the Foley. It's like, okay,
but
you don't.
Also,
yes.
I think the network said that they didn't want any actual piercing or blood, so that even if they wanted to show us somebody getting penetrated, that was not allowed.
Oh, but Jill, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the lack of sound that you see when swords hit each other in the scenes. And that's a Foley thing. That's creating the sound for the swords hitting each other, metal on metal. And when you see 2 swords out of 9 swords hitting each other, and you're only hearing 2 swords hit each other, it can be very disconcerting. And you can just be taken out of the moment, Jill. Taken out of the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Well, for sure, yeah, because you expect a certain sound, or you don't expect a sound, and if you get it or don't get it, then yes, that can definitely mess with you. But it messes with your sense of reality.
Yes,
and I agree there.
Credulity, Jill. Credulity. The sense of credulity. Oh no,
You know
that's somebody else's word. I won't use that. That's their word,
not somebody else's word.
You know what I mean?
That word. It's in the dictionary.
I know, but you know what I mean. Come on, Scotty knows what I mean.
I don't know what you mean. Mr. Miles says, let's mention the elephant in the room. If the Klingons had bat lifts, it would look much better. Of course, bat lifts don't exist yet. But yes, it would look great.
You know what? That is something that I would have absolutely
Star Trek 3.
adored. Is if Batleths had been here, if this had been the first introduction of the Batleth, that would have been great.
And Snorpoopa says the first Batleth appeared in The Next Generation. Yes. Scotty, Klingons' fights should never look adorable.
Yeah, they should. Come on. If you look at the way that Worf killed Duras and the way that Worf killed Gowron, they are both They are elegant and beautiful. And if that, I'm sorry, elegant and beautiful are my amalgamation of adorable.
I agree. I agree.
While an alien has total control over us.
Oh, I love that part of it. Oh my God. The final Kirk stuff is magnificent. And okay, so we're moving off the sword crap now, right? Even though I brought it up, I recognize that.
No.
Sword crap?
Well,
Yeah,
it depends on what you want to talk about. Like, we're at the end of the episode, so
What's
can
our
talk about whatever you like.
timeline, Jill?
We got 3 more minutes of the episode in slide format.
I mean, look at that. You guys were talking about the makeup before. Can you go back one slide, Jill?
15 minutes of a live stream left, at least.
One slide?
Yeah, we gotta rush.
Look at that makeup. This is real Klingon makeup. I don't care about prosthetics. This looks like a race that is different to us, but has its own rules, has its own regulations, and they grew up with a different environment. They grew up having to eat different things, exist on different things, and this is what I love about old Star Trek. It is simple but elegant.
But and the people who look at this makeup and they say that it may be racist, I do say, like, from Colicos throughout, at least it is consistent. I think that it is. I think that for a Syrian man, as Michael Ansara is
correct.
I think I don't think he's betraying any racial stereotypes. I
don't think so either.
Or the extras.
He is playing a noble man. And it's
portraying an alien.
When watching this, I was comparing Kang to Khan. And I was thinking that these are comparable, thoughtful villains in the era of the original series, not necessarily. Of course, there has been no Wrath of Kang.
But we needed it though. We needed a Wrath of Kang.
Yeah.
Oh no, I would pay $200 for a Blu-ray of Wrath of Kang.
We'll send it to Michael and Sarah.
Klingons kill for their own purposes.
Now he's so fantastic.
And we don't want to play.
He's such a good Klingon.
Yes, he is.
Klingons kill for their own purposes.
I mean, you know, that's the clip that you're playing, Jill. But the one that makes my blood run cold is when he actually says about his wife Mara, basically, she knew what she is in for. She knew what she was doing.
She's a casualty of war.
Yes.
And he calls Kirk's bluff on that. And of course, the Federation does not kill their prisoners, but the Klingons don't know that. So then when Mara does show up, he is genuinely surprised to see that she is alive.
Yes. And that is the beauty, a beauty of this episode, where we see there are misconceptions about the Klingons by the Federation, but also vice versa. And it makes everybody more amenable. I won't say human, because the Klingons are not human. That would be speciest. Very speciest, Jill. You know what I mean? But
definitely. Yeah.
That
is the problem that Star Trek does struggle with when they get too deep into stereotyping certain aliens. And that is, sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not. As long as we recognize that there are varieties in all of us, and they are misinterpreting the actions of each other, and that's what happens in war. You talk about how evil one side is, so that your army wants to kill them.
But Jill, would you not agree that for Mara and for Kang in this episode, there are moments of nobility that supersede the notions of Klingon versus human?
Yeah, and in a good way. And
yes,
an expansive.
I went out this most recent Halloween dressed up as Kor from Errand of
God.
Mercy, and I was beaten up by so many African Canadians.
I hope you're joking.
I wish I were, my friend.
Oh.
I wish I were.
That is so wrong, Scotty. That is just so wrong on so many levels.
I know. I didn't think
Well,
I was doing anything. I was from off planet, and
well,
they thought I was making fun of Caribbean.
Scotty,
It's like, you know what? It reminds me of the year before where I was dressed up as Jar Jar Binks, and they said, "You don't like Jamaicans?"
Oh dear. Okay, so I want to give everybody a chance to give their review for this episode. I only got like 15 minutes left of this live stream to go. So, Stone Racket, what do you give? What rating would you give to this one?
Well, as I had mentioned previously, I gave this episode an A in your poll.
Cool.
And there are some issues, as we've all discussed, with the episode, script wise, and sometimes with the acting. But overall, it's a very enjoyable episode, and the problems I have with it, I can let go by. But the one thing that really bothers me is the fact that the tag was deleted just for time, and they couldn't have cut a little here and there in the body of the episode and in order to keep that tag scene, because I think it was crucial to have that in there. And but once again, I can forgive because I didn't learn about this until very recently with the deleted tag scene. So I've enjoyed this episode from the get-go when I first saw it when I was a child, and I still enjoy it to this day. It's one of my top 10 third season favorites, so it shall remain there.
And that's a good spot to put it. Thank you so much, Stone Racket. Well said.
You're welcome.
And so, Hungry?
All right. Well, I will be relatively quick.
I doubt it.
I love you, bitch. The thing is that there are parts of this which elevate it for me from an A to an A plus, and that is the purgatory element and the questions we have about the creature. And also the fact that in the final fight, Mara is the one who throws the sword to Kirk, which shows she absolutely has changed her mind. Absolutely. And so that brings it from an A to an A plus to me. And that's all I have to say. Sorry, Scotty, to prove you wrong. I'm done.
No, keep going. Keep going.
That's great. I forgot about that part where she throws the sword. That is a beautiful part.
That's. I'm glad
I'm a Klingon. I'm not lying. I wouldn't lie about this.
I'm glad you pointed that out, Hungry.
Thank you. But
And
I mean, yes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Is that your review, or do you have more?
I really don't have much more to say aside from the fact that I really loved. There's one other part, a tiny little part I loved, which is at the near the end of the episode. It's leading up to the final battle, and you have the Enterprise team marching with their swords, but McCoy is marching with his sword ahead of Spock, and that is showing attention to the personalities of the character that came in episodes beforehand. And I thought that was as beautiful as Mara throwing her sword to Kirk. The fact that somebody for once was not treating it like a gig. They were treating it like art. And I love that. I loved it. And I'm done now.
Okay. I forgot to play. I got so excited about getting to the reviews. I forgot to play this clip.
Out! We need no urging to hate humans. Only a fool fights in a burning house. Ah!
Why do you have to get personal? Why don't you just tell me you don't want me around?
Fighting in a burning house. That is actually something I've heard from Palestinian and Lebanese friends. That is a quote that goes back over 1,000 years. So the fact that they included that in this episode is magnificent.
It's the same way that they included revenge is a best served cold. It's an old Klingon proverb.
Revenge is a dish that is best served cold.
And fighting in a burning house, only a fool does that. That seems like that feels. And also earlier in the episode, it's like a man in the night, a running man in the night may kill 1,000 throats or cut 1,000 throats, something like that. I don't care. Well, I'm just saying that there's a lot of
4,000 throats may be cut in one night by a running.
I think it's glorious.
Yes, and Jim, Captain Boone, please give us your review for this episode.
Well, I give this episode a big fat A. It's a great episode. You also got to remember about the Klingons. They are a warrior race. They know about swords all the way through the next gen, Deep Space Nine with the bat lips. They love swords. Just like Warp says, swords are fun. Yeah. So you got to remember that.
I don't exactly. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not supposed to worry about it, but
and I learned a lot.
What else?
And I learned a lot from listening to all you guys. You opened my eyes on this episode. I mean, I do fan films. I don't know everything, but I know a lot now. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, I do appreciate having you here from that perspective of a fan who enjoys to create fan fiction, and that's really great that you do that. And
also,
thank you for your
Klingon
review.
episodes suck. So what?
Sometimes, but most of the time
we gotta do a Klingon roundup.
Oh,
Jill.
there's only one Klingon episode that I really don't like. Yes.
Which one?
The one where they go see the cousins and they're all like not Klingon really.
Oh dear.
The one with Dr. Bashir?
Yeah.
All right.
And so I just want to give my review, but Shonraka, did you need to add something first?
Go ahead with your review. I'm sorry. I was just going to say something silly.
Yeah.
Oh, but I like silly.
I was just going to say, Jill, don't you think swords are fun?
No, oh, you were going to tease me about the coating the filth. Oh.
Nice one.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I can move past this. Sometimes, sometimes I watch Star Trek, and I'm glad that Jim mentioned The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, even though I love that because I watch Star Trek in the constant context of my love for what comes after in The Next Generation, and you can very clearly see several elements in this amazing episode that carries forth into the franchise from this point. And maybe that's the odd thing with TNG. Much of the cool stuff, I keep seeing that in season 3, much of the cool stuff we get from TOS is carried from TOS into TNG. We get the Klingons' nature and personality is more fleshed out in this episode regarding their dueling nature with the blades, specifically their attitude for war in general. So I believe it is, this is the first instance where we kind of sort of see the Klingons get fleshed out more in their personality. We get to see a bit of honor in King. And later we see in Star Trek that they are the personality that they're given. However, we see the crew not behaving like Starfleet officers should, of course, due to the alien influence.
Oh, you don't like the sexual assault part?
Well, no, I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying that that's what happens, and we can't be too sure how much we see of the Klingons as their true nature and how much is influenced by the alien. So that's the only part that's kind of unclear. So that's why I still want to give this episode an A, but I give it an A- because it's unclear. It's unclear in this episode exactly when the Klingons are being influenced or not.
What did you give The World Is Hollow and I have never touched the sky?
Hey,
what?
You give this episode an A-, but I don't.
Yes.
Did you give The World Is Holla?
I don't know. I did not give it an A. I think I might have given it a B. Something.
I'm sorry.
But Jill,
stuttered.
regarding what you just said, out of respect to what you just said, Mara
B-.
does bring up directly in this episode, we are a hunter race. And we have to do things in order to support starving other planets. And
I forgot about that part.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yep.
And therefore, that's why I rate it higher, because she actually is one of the, and it is a woman explaining the Klingon culture versus a man who does it. I'm not being woke. I'm just saying that was incredible for 1968. That she brings that up, and she is saying that with earnesty.
Well, mentioning a woman being a leader, warrior is not ever. It's just it's diversity in the most classic of progressive senses. And
but also Jill, she's bringing up the fact that the Federation does not realize there are differences in opportunities that other places in the universe have, and sometimes there are starving planets versus food wealthy planets, and that was a very important part in this episode. And a lot of times it goes unrecognized.
For sure, yeah, we don't get to hear that much about the Klingon Empire, so that is a good starting point for us. Of course, we do later, but in TOS.
But it's very good science fiction, Jill. It's science fiction.
You know what? Come on, Hungry. You got to stop being so interesting. There are people in the chat.
Okay, so the episode. Okay,
they are so angry at us because we're having an interesting conversation, and now we must go to the chat because we. Have to say
well,
hello.
no,
I'm
wait,
sorry,
I'm still not
Scotty.
finished.
I'm sorry.
So the episode, I can't.
That's my motto.
Well, but Scotty R37, I will get to the chat, but I just want to finish.
I'm sorry.
So
shut up, Scotty.
I will.
So where was I? Something about
You were
TNG.
praising Michael and Sarah.
So I can't. Okay, so how else? Okay, so there's more that I believe in this episode that influences the next generation. That's the nature of teamwork with your enemy to survive. That is at its heart, and it's a main line throughout this episode, and something that TNG exemplifies, and so much of its nature when Picard talks about stuff. So it's similar to the message of the taste of Armageddon. We're killers, but we're not going to kill today. Of course, the alien doesn't let them kill each other, but you get my point. That war is something that they're trained in, but also something they avoid if they can. And that's the sentiment in Star Trek that I love, that to avoid violence when possible, but we can commit violence on you, but we're going to avoid it if we can. And that's what's special about Star Trek.
It's better for you. It's better for me.
It's better for them.
Better for them.
It's almost heartbreaking seeing my favorite characters be so quick to violence and hatred and bigotry, but it works because it was caused by the alien entity controlling their minds. And we never know exactly what the alien entity is, except that it wants endless wars. And no matter your political ideology, even the Klingons don't want wars to last forever.
True.
Well said.
So it basically the entity was a senator. We accept that, but nonetheless, Jill.
Yes.
Jill's laughing because she knows. Okay, but I mean, your point was fantastic. Your point, but it's your show, Jill. What in this episode was the one or two things that you enjoyed most? What made it so stellar for you? What meant it got such a high grade?
The rape.
That's a good question.
Jill, you still here? Jill,
I'm sorry. What was your question? I was trying to get back to the chat.
What about this episode for you? Any two reasons meant it was such a high grade, aside from the things that you've been talking about? Emotionally, personally to you, from when you were a little girl.
From when I was a little girl.
Yes.
I didn't get into
see this
until I
you
was
were
older.
19?
Yeah, I didn't see it until I was 19.
Wow.
Go back to when I was a little girl. I used to fight with swords like that too. But But for
You
me,
didn't even know
it-
what Klingons were.
I
but
always
you were
watch
beating
Star
them
Trek
to death.
through Spock. So
Allow me to
Spock-
rephrase from the first time you saw it. What made this episode mean so much to you emotionally?
and it's always Spock for me. And even though he doesn't, he's not a big presence in this episode.
No, he's not.
He loses it just as much as Scotty does in a Vulcan way. A Vulcan would not have had that outburst. He might even believe what he said. He might even believe, oh, those humans, they irritate me. But he never says it, and he always suppresses that kind of thing. And so we'll never know if those are his true feelings. It's the thing that disturbs me the most in the whole episode is how they say that. Because
But I mentioned earlier in my
No, Scotty,
assessment
let
that-
you go on. I want to hear more
but
about this.
I want to contribute. I want to assist.
Okay, all right, but still, that's really deep,
no,
Jill.
But if you please allow
I will.
me.
I will.
Like there is something I said earlier in this particular broadcast. It's like, oh no, we have Soviet Chekhov, and all of a sudden he's a villain. And there is a moment in this episode where it's like, oh no, Spock is half Vulcan. He's half alien. And so he becomes a villain as well. And so I do think that all of the others that we could make into villains in this episode, they are. It's like whoever is not expressly human, we're gonna vilify them. And by the end of the episode, it's like, you know what? This is stupid. Get out. We have no time for your racial discrimination. Like this is a very an allegorical come together. You know what? It doesn't matter. Like people in the episode, like Kirk, Spock, McCoy, like Scotty, everybody, except for Chekhov, because he just screams and goes away. But it is a matter.
Well, yeah,
where
he's just
everyone
maniacal the whole
says,
time, for sure.
everyone just so Chekhov is the bad guy.
He's stuck in sick bay. He's still working through his mental issues at this point.
Not in the
That's
cool
why we don't
way.
see him again.
Not in the cool way that he was in the amoeba episode. But
I want to
I'm just saying.
I want to
you
thank Darius
want- yeah,
Munchausen.
please.
Yeah, no, but he gave me a super chat. He gave me a super chat
I
for
know,
$5.
Darius is
He
dope.
said, "Well, that's probably why you're interrupting my review earlier." He says, "Which is a more delicious dish, gawk served alive, or vengeance served cold?"
The answer is Gach.
Gawk.
Oh, God.
obviously. I mean, and it has to be alive, or otherwise it's not fresh.
Of course. What are you, Amish?
Wes Cagle also gives a super chat for $2. Loved this episode. It's top 5 on my list. I don't put it in my
Cool.
top 5, but that is
That's
so
good.
I
cool
accept
that
your
you do.
apology.
That's amazing. And speaking of reviews, we forgot to let the chat review. So there's a poll with 43 votes. How do you rate Day of the Dove? 56% give it an A,
Boo.
37% a B, 7% a C. Yeah,
Yay.
I think that's wonderful.
No, I'm a 37%er.
Well, you're the out of the box thinker, so there you are with the 7%.
Well, I haven't been in a box in a while.
Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll.
I live in a box under a bridge.
And then I had like 100 chats.
What are you, a Ferengi?
I had 100 chats, and so I
That's
don't
a cold
know.
box.
I don't know how. I'm gonna do a lightning round where I try to see if there's like anything
Let's
in
just
the chat
go.
that I
Go
can.
through it.
Well, I know there are several episodes left, says Booger 414 to go.
Booger.
But this panel has a several panel ever thought of doing a deep dive into any fan films like Exeter Phase 2, Farragut, or Continues? It's possible. I may do Continues before I get into For All Mankind. It's possible.
That's a very
you know
good question.
You know what's funny is that a year ago tomorrow is it's been a year since you and I have been hanging out, Jill. And last year on tomorrow's day, you know what episode we reviewed? It was the
Well-
alternative factor.
Hey, I love that one. Don't
Oh
you
my
start.
God.
Not as
Oh,
good
no.
as this one.
Okay, so after all of these episodes I reviewed, it's still my least favorite. So because I was
Wow.
wondering, is season 3 gonna change me? Not yet.
Wow, Jill. Wow.
And that's why we're friends.
Okay, so for both of you, the reason I love the alternative factor,
We don't
is there-
care.
no,
Well, no,
but
I
you
do
care.
not
We're gonna invite you.
fucking care. Sorry about the swear.
I do care, and I will invite you to a Friday one day so we can find out why Hungry loves this episode. But that's
I'm not
what we
going to
can-
talk about
I
it now.
got- I
We'll
gotta
do it on
go.
that Friday. We'll do
Thank
it on that
God.
Friday.
I refuse to eat dead gawk too, Christine.
Hey!
Oh my goodness.
I love
Alternative
you,
factor
Hungry.
is good community musical fiction. Okay,
I
it's
will
like
uppercut you several times. But no, Hungry, I want to say that whenever we have the opportunity to have you on a panel to talk about the original series.
Okay,
man,
Scotty,
you're
I got it.
passionate,
Yeah,
you're
I know. I
lovely.
definitely. Well, I love everybody who's been on my panel today. You
Yes.
guys have been really
Yeah,
great, and so I like that Snortopoopa says Kolokos wore the darker makeup like Ansara's, but a lot of Klingons in intermediate episodes had lighter colored makeup. I just figured Klingons, like humans, come in different levels of pigmentation. Yes.
You know what the best part about today's show is that I've been in blackface the entire time.
No, you have
But I
not,
haven't.
Scotty R37.
No, I never turn on my camera, so nobody knows.
We saw you earlier. You weren't in blackface.
Yeah.
Ah, you caught me.
Yeah, no, I don't hire people to put on that.
What do
If
you
were
mean,
dressed as a
Klingons?
Klingon, no,
Don't
if you
call
were dressed-
Klingons
that would be
you
different.
people.
I don't call Klingons blackface because that's Klingon. It's different. If you've got the eyebrows, you're doing cosplay. It's different. It's
Meanwhile,
not.
I mean-
Jill's channel has been demonetized.
no, it won't be. It
Well,
won't be
thanks,
because
God.
I'm going to bring up the science and
Yeah,
science
I did
fiction
do
of it.
that, Yeah.
The
Kronos
thing,
is here.
hey, Kronos, I love you.
Kronos.
But go ahead.
The thing is, when you look at the skin tone, and that's the way I'm going to phrase it, in this episode we're talking about today, the planet that Klingons come from is entirely different to the planet we come from. And when you look at the continents we come from,
Oh,
yeah, precisely.
Yeah, that's true. It is a different planet. S1 Bro is here. Hello, S1 Bro. Yes, it's
and
a different
it is
planet,
going
for sure.
it's going to create different skin tones and eyebrows and everything else. Just like if you take somebody you take a family that was born in Scandinavia and you put them from the 1500s to now in Amazon country, they're going to be shorter and they're going to be more appropriate to their environment.
Yeah, definitely.
and
Darius
Turok.
says you've never heard Jill and her Star Trek TOS episode reviews until you heard them in the original Klingon.
Precisely. Precisely.
And I'd like to say hello to Subspace Chatter. I don't know if I said hello to
Subspace.
Subspace Chatter earlier. I think I might have, but you're new today. Glory to you and your YouTube channel. Glory to you and your house.
There's only
Nice.
one rule. You have to buy Jill a drink. Well, she doesn't drink, but if you want to pass it on to me, that'll
No, that's not true. I do drink a bit, but I control myself.
I do not.
No kidding.
Communication. Let's forget. Subspace
Shut
is
your
how they
face,
communicate.
morning boy.
Jill is still ignoring me. I'm not. Hello, Connor. Hello. I'm jumping up and down saying
I didn't
hello.
mean
Sorry,
the morning boy.
Sorry, Scotty. No, that's fine. That was a good joke. That's fine.
All right. We have time zone differences. That's
I'm not mocking you. I was just, the opportunity
should.
for the joke was there, and I had to take it like
Oh,
you
this
did.
is a great Klingon joke. The needs
Yes.
of the mini outweigh the needs of the Klingons.
Hey! Hey!
That's
Oh,
not nice.
dear.
That's not nice.
That's
for the
not
Klingons.
nice.
That's hard. That's actually
Come
really
on.
harsh.
That's
That's
one of my
rough.
favorite things, and one of my favorite things about the Next Generation is the development of the
Oh.
Worf character in
Oh my
terms
God.
of him being as double plus good as Spock, being
Yeah.
a man between two worlds, But,
Oh yes,
Jill,
right.
you were
Raised by
saying.
humans. Yes.
I agree
Yes.
with that,
No,
but
I
let's
do see.
do the
I do
Christine
love
thing.
that. I do
Let-
love that, and we got to have a warp episode one day. But Christine
Mm.
says, when I was a little girl, what made this episode important for me was how they recognized the issue and together
Mm.
worked out a way to make things better. Not
Yeah.
despite their differences, but because of the differences. Yes, that's
There you
beautiful.
go.
That says everything I meant to say earlier.
Point
Yeah.
and dismiss
Yeah,
the
Hey!
animosity.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Christine. You said it all. After watching so much lengthy extended commentary about the content for 3 years straight, often in excruciatingly granular detail, it was good. Feels like minimalism. It was good, though.
True.
It was pretty good. I liked it. My girlfriend tells me I like it, and I ask, "What did you like about it?" She says it was good. I don't
No!
even know.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
What? That Darius Munchausen has a girlfriend?
No, but she likes Star Trek, so hang on to that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, Jill, you are correct. You are
Marry that
correct.
woman.
Those are hard to find.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the end crux of that conversation, I think. She'll get into it. She'll get into it deeper with time. She just needs to see more.
She
Turnabout
needs
Intruder.
she needs
It's
to
his
build
favorite. Okay.
sci-fi trust, Jill. Sci-fi trust. Do you know what I mean? Sci-fi trust. And then
Nobody
she will
knows.
explain
Well, that's
to
true.
Darius.
Because the more science fiction you watch, the more you fall in love with certain tropes, and when they come
Yeah,
up,
but you wanted me
you're
to
tied
watch
with
that
them more.
Ed Straker show, and that was a piece of shit.
I still love it, and I'm gonna
Stop
get
on
that's not
my
my
point.
problem.
Stop
That
on
was
my
more-
point, Scotty. Go
That
ahead.
was
Go right
more
ahead.
boring than fucking toast.
You don't have to be on the panel when I talk about that, okay?
I refuse.
Oh,
Hooray.
Scotty.
I was wondering what was happening in the private chat. What of Lazarus? That's all that's happening. I thought something bad was
True.
happening.
The
No, I
private
love-
chat is
no,
basically, you get out.
I love Lazarus because I've had to be Lazarus on a
This is
stage.
an incredible panel, but I'm already late. I don't want to be late
Let's
for my
go.
children. So
Let's
we've
get
gotta
out of
go.
here, lady. We're busy.
There's
You know
at least
what?
another
Let's
30
go.
minutes of life in this panel, but we can do it. So I got
We're sick and
to.
tired of being sick and tired. We got to get
I
out
got-
of here, lady.
Yeah, I know. I got to get out of here, but the problem is
Mm.
that you guys got to tell me what you do on the internet and if there's anything you'd like to share.
I usually just share. No, I can't say it.
Thank you,
No,
so
I
much
haven't-
for being here. Is there
Yeah,
anything
thank
you
you
want to
for
share
having
before
the
we go?
stream and sending me the invite. And I look forward to doing more of these with all of you. And even though I'm not a YouTuber, I'm not a content creator, I'm just this cat named Stone Racket.
Mm.
I'm glad to have this cat on my side.
Why, thank you.
And Jim, Captain Chuck Boone, what are you
Oh,
doing
we got,
out there on the internet? What's going on?
We got a lot of things going on. That Commodore Productions just got to get back on the horse there and get stuff done. We got about a dozen fan films got to get done. But yeah, thank you for the invite. Enjoyed myself up here. Like I said earlier, I learned a lot about this episode that I didn't know about. So thank you for that. And I had a great time.
Yeah, I learned stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
About the pinwheel. That was neat.
Yeah, I didn't know
Mhm.
anything about that.
Hmm. And Hungry, what about you? What are you doing around here?
Well, mainly, despite what Tiger Stripes just said, I am mainly here to help other people's channels, particularly when it has to do with science fiction, fantasy, or horror or genre films. And that's what matters to me. I don't care about my own channel, but I do help, and I do care about helping shows and channels review a beautiful episode of classic science fiction like this episode of classic science fiction. And
great.
that is what matters more than anything else. So as long as people are happy to have me talk, I'm happy to be here. But all of you have been magnificent in regards to your evaluation of this episode, why it was good, and why you care about it. And I thank you all.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Thank
yes,
you.
and thank you so much, hungry for being here. Your insight is always amazing. I love that you were here for the biblical references. It answered a lot of questions I had about the creature, and I can't wait till you come back.
Thank you.
And Scotty, we didn't mention this the entire time, but this is the eve of your birthday. So
It is birthday eve.
it's birthday eve. So
I'll get old tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll get old tomorrow. And what are you doing around here? Well, before that,
Around the internet? Well,
yeah, and this is why I kept this. This is why I kept this clip.
Except, of course, happy birthday. Surely the best of times.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but you can see by the look on Kirk's face that he's not having, he's not having a jam.
So, Scotty, are you going to be tomorrow? Will you be Scotty R38 then?
If I were good at my job, I would be. No, I am at Scotty R37 on X, and I play with the Phantasmagorium show. I play with Cinema Gulp. I play with Sci-Fi Nation, and I play with what's his name? I don't even know the name of his channel anymore. Captain Cockney Spock. I play all over the internet. I am a hobo.
Nobody knows his channel anymore.
Yeah, no, who cares? No one likes it.
I think it's like temporal Maximus now.
And ultimately, if you'd like to find me, and I appreciate it because it's one of my favorite things, is my favorite place on the internet is right here. If you'd like to like and subscribe to Antiderivative Jill, she is my best friend on the internet. She is the most thoughtful person. She is the one who I get the most joy speaking with. And I would recommend, if you would like to support me, support her, because her happiness makes me happy.
Yeah, and speaking of happiness, you have a lot of people saying early happy birthday, Franco Walker, Subspace.
They're just
Hatter,
looking forward to me being 1 year closer to death.
And Kronos says something. I'm sure he did say something. Someone
I'm
is
sure
aging.
Everyone's like really excited.
And Tiger Stripes is the thing. I love Tiger Stripes, and I love that she is always honest in her opinions, and I do take everything she says with to heart.
Anyway,
I'm sure she thought she was giving you good advice.
Well, no, and I appreciate it. I enjoy it. Now I have to go drive around in a hatchback while I'm half in the bag getting stoned to go and buy more.
Well, no, wait a minute.
I'm gonna do crimes, Jill.
No,
crimes.
no, don't do that. Don't do, kids, do not drink.
You're always such a buzzkill.
I fight crime.
Oh, well,
okay.
I didn't say that.
Oh my goodness, I forgot the most important thing. I forgot to upload the trailer for next week, which I absolutely need. So I have to.
Batman? Is Batman?
I have to grab it. No. Next week is Plato's Stepchildren.
Oh my God!
I
I'm
have
gonna skip next week.
And I have too many. You can skip if you want. You're never.
I don't even want to. You know what? It's going to be the worst thing in the entire world if I comment on that episode. I don't know. Maybe I should watch it and reassess.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point of the show. So yeah,
I guess.
If you watch it and you still have nothing to say, you don't have to be here. But I got to dash. I'm late. I will talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks again, Jill. Bye now.
You're welcome.
Have a good day. Take care.
Goodbye to the chat.
I love you all so much, and I've never liked this show.
Hey.
I
can't breathe. Where are you going?
I don't know. I don't want to go, but I can't help myself.
Let me give you a hypo to ease the pain.
They're going to kill you anyway. You know that.
In that case, what's the point in you dying too, Alexander?
First time anybody ever thought of my life before his own.
I'm Tweedledee. He's Tweedledum. I'm Spaceman Marching 2 and drunk.
Take care, young ladies, and value your wine. bitter dregs.
I am not afraid. I'm so ashamed. Please make them stop.
We have had enough of your moralizing.
We've had too much of yours.
Thanks everyone for being here. See you all next time. Bye
I think
now.
I'm gonna really like next time. I think it's gonna be great.
Of
Michael Douglas.
Bye,
Fuck. What?